I'm good. Please take the number. We have specific services that were the first in the community, the first to actually put together a vaccination exemption package for the black community around the United States. That was us. Yeah, we've been working with the community for a very long time. If you see me having to sit, I fell on some concrete steps. No excuses. I'm mending, but every now and then I may have to sit. But that being said, I want to essentially go over what this whole thing is going to be about. Am I here? Here we go. First of all, let's just make sure we understand that this is a private, just for the people so that they understand that there's a law here. This brother has done so much work. First of all, let's just hear it from Brother Rich and what he has done to that. Yeah. Let's also hear it from our brother Panic and Duke Asir. Brother Asir. Just to make sure that everybody understands who's everybody up here, this is my security. This is Brother Osiris Bey, and if you want, he will introduce everyone else who has come from Philadelphia to stand at my side. Give thanks to this brother and their brothers there. Just to let you understand that this is a private lecture entitled Re-Examining Authenticity of Reality, and its killer energies are all ours. It belongs to me and the brother who sponsored me. So I'm just putting that out there just in case, because anything that you see on YouTube, I didn't put it on there. So if you understand what I mean, I don't mind paying other people's bills, but every now and then I like to pay mine. Moving forward, I'm trying to figure out how to work this darn thing. Yeah. Now, just to you to understand where we're going to be going, is re-examining the authenticity of reality. We are dealing with the aristocracy of evil. Have you ever seen that one I did back in the early 1990s when I outed the Jesuits? This is the church of the quantum cult we're going to be speaking about. Your reality is essentially a paint job, as you'll find. The metaphysics of the plain, flat truth. A lot of people are having problems really digesting the fact that we are on a plane and not a planet. I like this, brother. I want to first and foremost put into the record, good enough, give thanks. Let's give it to the man himself. His brother's always with Brother Miller. I'm going to put something into the record for people to listen to. I want everybody to understand where we are and to understand what our entire reality has been constructed of. I just want to give a shout out to my family, both here and extended, out on the coast, distinguished colleagues, and to affirm that this is a PhD presentation. So understand that there will be language, there will be semantics, semiotics, epistemology, and etymologies that are at that level. Something for you to go home and study, not just to kind of take 10 minutes and then digest and, eliminate. This is something that you're going to have to marinate on. Beloved brothers and sisters, all that we claim to know of the invisible world is derived from the perceptions received through our senses, which are, for us, the only witnesses supporting our constructs of reality. All other things are conclusions derived from these facts. All sense-based perceptions in the final analysis are merely reflections of our participation in the vacillating world of effects. unconditioned reality, that is, reality not conditioned by our senses, lies in the realm of an unknowable and unperceptible intelligence. That is, until the universal substance and essence that comprises it condenses, divides, and subdivides into discernible waves, particles, and subparticles, all to become the materialized centers of individuated consciousness. And it is this condensed universal essence that constitutes the sum and substance of physical man. You see, beloved family, what we have mistakenly defined as creation is in fact A, the centrifugal condensation of spiritual substance into the infinite variations of physical form, and B, the centripetal involution of physical forms dissipating back into spiritual substance, what we have come to define as the cycles of life. Thus, what the priesthood of the Church of the quantum cult of Western science and their holy order of call a universe from nothing to their Big Bang is actually the divine eternal process of condensation and dissipation following the divine intentional dynamics of an imperceptible and unfathomable intelligence. And here is where the cognitive dissonance of modern science kicks in. Western scientific thought seeks to reduce the omniscient, omnipresent, ineffable intelligence we call God through their futile attempts to circumscribe it, name it, and thus limit it to their mathematical equations, all for the unlimited purpose or the ultimate purpose of packaging it, barcoding it, and thus owning it for commercial distribution. Their ongoing mission is to penetrate, appropriate, and violate the secrets of the divine, to reduce God to a rule of thumb, a principle, an energy, to a label complete with instructions and recognizable contents, all to expose the hidden creator as nothing more than the sum of its sensually determined parts, to expose where it hides and how it hides itself. And remember, beloved children, in the game of hide and seek, when the one who is hidden is found, they lose. This is why I have dedicated this presentation to putting the new inquisition of the quantum cult on blast. I dedicate this lecture to exposing the perpetrators, the deluders, the confusers, the assorted trolls and agent provocateurs hired by academia and the media to distract us from the personal pursuit of true science and analysis. I call out the new inquisitors of the quantum cult: Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michio Kaku, Lawrence Krauss, etc., ad nauseum. You see, unlike the old inquisitions that used the rack, the Iron Maiden, thumb screws, tongue prongs, and the dunking stool, these techniques of coercion and persuasion have been replaced by mockery, ridicule, scorn, shaming, vilification, taunting, teasing, and derision in the social media. Fact is, the operational protocols of the quantum cult requires their priests to outright reject all things that cannot be observed, weighted, reduced, itemized, measured, and cataloged by them under these strict rules of thumb. Their priesthood must also reject the findings of independent freethinkers and explorers operating outside the liturgical protocols of their faith. Now, the separation by Western science of the measurable from the immeasurable became prominent in the mindset and practices of the Western scientific cult when a man named René Descartes introduced his hypothesis of dualism regarding the body and the soul in his thesis entitled A Discourse on the Method for Rightly Directing One's Reason and Searching for Truth in the Sciences, circa 1637. René Descartes introduced into the Western scientific mindset what became known as the Cartesian method of scientific thinking. From this point forward, Europe separated itself from the investigative protocols of the ancients that dealt predominantly with the study of life, focusing on the causal planes and their intimate relationship with the human mind. The effectual realm, that is, those discernible forces, organic structures, and physical mechanisms of life that impact our senses, became the predominant qualifiers of reality, more so than the mental processes that exemplified the spiritual and its intimate connection to the causal realm. Fact is, spiritual is a name that absolutely horrifies the materially constipated minds of the Western scientific priesthood, because their church doctrine teaches them that this word represents the superstitious, unscientific, mythical world of the obsolete cultures of black and brown civilizations. Their church has taught them to mock, ridicule, and dismiss as myth all scientifically based records and traditions exemplified by what turns out to be the highest spiritually and intellectually advanced civilizations that existed on our plane, who exemplified the very heights of human thought and achievements when the European was barely out of his caves. And so, I take this moment to remind you, Brother Neil deGrasse Tyson, of the great genetic stock from which you descend. That, for example, your ridicule and vilification of the so-called flat earth conspiracy is a denial and above all gross disrespect of your ancestral blood heritage. I remind you as well of what Count Constantin Francois de Chassebeuf, aka Count Volney, wrote in 1787 when he visited Kem for the first time, and what he saw for himself firsthand. And I quote, he said, "Just think that this race of black men, today our slaves and the object of our scorn, is the very race that we owe our arts, sciences, and even our very use of speech." Now there is a racist by the name of 7 Phoenician 7 who wants to completely disavow what it is that Count Volney said by using what in essence is called the Aryan model of world history, where they pervert and convert all the knowledge so that white people become the foundation of civilizations all around the world. So the Aryan model is a model written by racists back in the 18th century to twist, and I call it the twistery of European history. Yes, my brother Tyson, beguiling the naive and unsuspecting masses with your buffoonery does a monumental disservice to your children and grandchildren, because the legacy of lies you irresponsibly propagate for your 15 minutes of fame will socially brand them and their names with shame, when the truth inevitably breaks free from the deceptive doctrines of your mind-manipulating cult and sees the light of day. In fact, one of your cult's greatest high priests turned heretic, Dr. Alexis Carrel, wrote the following in his monumental revelatory work, Man the Unknown. He said, "Men of science know not where they are going. And when they get there, they won't know where they are. And when they return, they won't know where they've been." End quote. He goes on to say, after all, scientists are only men. They willingly believe that facts which cannot be explained by their current theories just do not exist. Evident facts having an unorthodox appearance are summarily suppressed. As our ancient Kemetic, Cushitic, and Dravidian scientists once knew, and what awakened European scientists like Albert Michelson and Robert Milkelin knew, is that matter is nothing more than crystallized spirit, just as ice is crystallized water, and water is crystallized vapor. Our ancient melanated masters knew that, 1, Man is the crystallized avatar of God. 2, man is God folded over unto itself, hiding within the illusory cloaks of matter to participate in and experience its own realms of being and becoming. That all biological forms possessing senses, shapes, and infinite designs, all plants, all animals, all insects, are the sense-processing nerve endings acting as echo chambers and feedback modules of the Creator's materialized existence. And that 4, man is the most complex, highly specialized, and souled being of all creation, and expresses through his and her minds the most perfect specialization and the most complicated individualization of all spiritual principles comprising the sum and substance of the universal mind. And finally, beloved, the cult of the quantum sciences and their inquisitors exist to confine us to the space they have colonized between our ears, that fertile space where they embedded their linguistically based indoctrinational programming that they subtly downloaded into our central cerebral processors since childhood. This they did to assure that any attempt by us to intuitively tap into our genetically encoded divinity would trigger the random access memory of their indoctrinational programming, which will act as a virus that prevents us from expanding our personal consciousness beyond the confines of our entomological and epistemological incarceration. So, with the formal words of Alexis Carrel reverberating as a sober reference, is it not the very crux of sanity and logic, the very essence of critical thinking and reason, to be suspicious of what the Church of Quantum Theoretical Sciences and their media-based inquisitors promote and purport to be reality? It is from this point I'd like us to begin our exploratory journey, beloved brothers and sisters, deconstructing the perceptual paradigms of Western scientific thought on the subjects of life, creation, space, space travel, and time, their so-called quantum realm, their globe earth, etc., etc. All that we have been forced to accept, support, propagate, and participate in. And the unquestioning trust we have blindly assigned to those responsible for engineering and maintaining the stultifying paralysis and calculated persecution of independent explorers who dare to travel those uncharted territories that do not fail or fall into the quantum cult's prescripted definitions of reality. As the last surviving member of the fated vessel Pequod, Ishmael in the novel Moby Dick said, "Reality outruns apprehension." That being said, we shall adjourn to the pictures now, because I know you guys are from that particular era where pictures are necessary. So we got a lot of pictures for you, but we do have some more reading for you before we do the pictures. Why? Because I've been assailed. Have I been correct in the last 40 years of my work? No. You don't totally anything that you do. You're a human being. You get mistakes. The thing is to admit those mistakes. Okay? When I was introduced to the so-called flat earth, it was given to me by a very good friend at the time who was a salesman at a store called Weiser's. I don't know if anybody of you are old enough to know about Weiser's on Fifth Avenue, but they were the occult store to buy all of your occult doctrines from. He gave me a book. That book was called World Beyond the Pole. And that World's Beyond the Poles, and I said, what is this? I tried reading it at that time, but you know what? I wasn't ready. Because he wrote it in such a, oh, by the way, those of you taking notes, it's by a man named Gianelli. It's a difficult read, so that's why I put it down. I didn't want to be dealing with anything that I have to like super think twice, and I'm pretty good with vocabulary, but this guy was off the chain. So I got a second introduction to it by two men, two Europeans, by the name of Preston Nichols, and those of you who know about the Montauk experiment, and Al Bielek, who was responsible or was part of the Philadelphia experiment. And when I mentioned that to them, they said, whoa, we don't even talk about that. I said, well, why not? He says, well, astrophysicists who find the truth have been disappearing, heart attacking, committing suicide, dying in accidents. I'm saying, really? Well, let me not venture forth. I mean, I'm pretty courage. I'm pretty brave. Then, you're telling me that, people talking on that subject. But again, like I said, I'm not here to pad what I'm about to say. There are a lot of things that we have been deluded by. And these people I'm about to introduce you to have done an extremely good job because they started at least 200 or 300 to 500 years ago, which is why the woven reality that I spoke about, the paradigm structures that we believe to be real, those paradigm structures have to be destroyed. We cannot look at what we have become comfortable with anymore as reality. That's a disturbing thing, to give up the things that make you comfortable, which is why they inebriate us with so much media, which is why people hypnotically are hooked into Facebook, to all the places where they can express themselves, because we don't meet like this anymore. Very few times. I mean, back in the day, we met. We meet. We used to come together constantly. The first African, we're back at Boys and Girls Highfield. It was Africa, actually. But anyway, that being said, I just want you to know that what you're looking at here, this being a common exercise of logic, concludes that the authentic experience is a first-person, tactile, in-person interaction between an event and your physical senses, one not mediated or explained by an outside or second-person worded definition of that experience. If using the words we speak to define an experience could be considered a second-person mediation of perception, then any word spoken to describe an experience must be considered inauthentic, unless the listener has had a previous first-person experience similar to the experience being described. Ergo, any experience resulting from the manipulation of one's perception through a second-person retelling using words is inauthentic. Given this scenario, it would stand to reason that the only genuine perception would be pre-linguistic perception, which is why the science of mind control today is about invading, occupying, and manipulating our centers of pre-linguistic perception. In other words, the only real experiences we have is with each other. Everything that you've been taught in school is secondhand. Everything that has been downloaded into you as reality, that you fix it, that you've cemented, that you've used as the foundation for your activity within that reality, is not real. Why? Because you never experienced it. All you did was read it in a book. All you did was be told by the teacher that this is a cow. The cow says moo. Did you smell the cow? Did you touch the cow? No. All learning, 90% of what you are is based on post-linguistic explanations and experientials. You are not real. You don't have a real experience. When you make love, you have a real experience. When you eat, you have a real experience. When a woman has a baby, she has a real experience. But learning about babies and seeing them being born on TV, that's not an experience. That's you being conditioned to believe that this is something. If I was to look up in the sky today, I say to my students, if I was to look up in the sky, you didn't know what it was, and I say, wow, there's something up there, and it's got these two appendages, and it keeps flapping it, and it helps it to maintain. It just seems to stay up in the air. What is it? Oh, yeah, see? You think it's a bird. Why? because you've been given that as the definition. But what does that do? It separates you from the experience. The definition separates you. Somebody gave you a word to describe that particular experience. That's not the experience. Okay? So from this particular, hey, my son is here. Y'all give it up for my... Boy, doing a Netflix flick. Be looking out for him. He's going to be in a movie out there soon. Anyway, I love blowing up my son. Anyway, from this point forward, we're going to read who the weavers and manipulators of your reality has been. We're going to read who it is that set the structures for what you believe to be real. And then we're going to take a look at pictures at what you think is real. Okay, now I got to get used to this. Oh, here we are. Okay, so what is reality? Okay, let's look at it this way. In terms of reality and its expression through the principal laws of matter, we can only say, forgive me, I'm going to have to come up here with you guys because my neck is hurt. We can only say that we know of matter through its expressed behaviorisms in relationship to form and our brain's perceptual molding focus on those things we perceive to be real. Matter, in reality, is psychoreactive and psychoreflective. In other words, metaphysically, mind and matter are one. In terms of our focus on the surfaces of the behavior of matter, the Western Church of Quantum Mechanics, mechanical sciences, i.e. the quantum cult, has succeeded in merely describing the surface nature of matter, but has failed miserably to define the essence of it. Even at the very nanoparticulate levels of their examinations and scrutiny through electron microscopes, the priesthood of the quantum cult are thwarted at the thresholds of their why, with a seemingly impenetrable veil. Oh, isn't that something? Take them in the back. And can only describe what they see as chaos. Reality in reality is a concept exclusive to philosophers, a compass used by us to explore the ontological and epistemological fabrics of being. The concepts of reality, therefore, will never be found spoken in the hallowed halls of science. Why? Because with all of their fanciful theories and mathematical equations resulting from centuries of investigations exploring that concept, science found that it was easier to staple smoke to a drywall. In the book titled Process and Reality by Alfred North Whitehead, the author ridicules the egotism of Western science by elaborating on what he calls the fallacy of misplaced concreteness. He explores the frivolous belief of scientists that there is something, somewhere out there that is real and can be depended upon to justify all the things they discover and name, making them philosophically naive, like with their law of gravity, their Big Bang theory, which I thought was some kind of cosmic orgy when I first heard it, and relativity. But the deeper they dig into the atomic infrastructures of material existence, the more paradoxical the interwoven fabrics of matter become, and thus the more uncertain their concrete perceptions of reality become. Quantum physics or quantum electrodynamics, for all you who are studying physics, know that they are not telling you the truth. You will graduate with a religious concept of reality, because the Church of Quantum Physics is just that. It's a religion. So, they and their tenets represent the Church of Definitive Realities, and their high priests like Krauss, Einstein, Hawking, Hubble, and even Tyson have been ordained by their Jesuit masters to spread their gospel of quantum truth to the world. all to establish their paradigm of concreteness in the minds of humankind. Thus, the aesthetics of orthodox materialistic scientific logic is a laughable myth because it requires two types of logistics operating simultaneously to process a rational conclusion. Hit your physics professor with this one if you're in school. You have ordinary logic, family. There's the logic that we as the unscientific laity, the unwashed masses, intuitively grasp and gravitate towards. It assumes concrete logic in a linear time stream. Then we have the logic of quantum science. That is the logic used by the quantum church to solve problems it sets for itself. They set up the problems and tell you, well, we are exploring the universe. We're finding all these conundrums that we're going to work out for you. Think about it. An extremely convoluted, problematical, exotic form of logic based on something they call Boolean algebra. So, when we search through the paradigmatic structures of quantum mechanics for the ordinary logic to explain existence, nature, and reality, we are forced through scholastic indoctrination to view them through the strings and aisles of Boole that the quantum cult embedded into the natural processes of ordinary mathematical logic. This creates the desired dissonance that allows them to bypass our own ordinary logic-based intellectual filters, submerging us into a cauldron of vacillating premises that requires us to shift our attention into their zones of hypothetical thinking, which thereafter has us intellectually hopping from one leg to the other. And because you have been programmed from kindergarten to believe that these high priests of the quantum cult have direct access to the mind of the Creator itself, your hypnotic reaction is to deny your own divine intuitive pathways to logic, deferring to their twisted, convoluted, ecclesiastical Boolean logic, allowing them to linguistically shape your neurological circuitry to predetermine the subconscious pathways your perceptions of reality take when pondering the true nature of existence. So there we all are today. Here we are, gathered here in this auditorium where you and your individual observer get to decide which logic you wish to employ as we re-examine the authenticity of reality. In my school, I teach my students that the thought processes in their heads are not real. Thought is a mechanical thing that your brain catalogs for you. It's an activity of the brain only. When you're thinking a thought, what do you think is actually looking at the pictures of that thought? A thought? Think about it. And I really ask that question very seriously of my students because when you are thinking and you are in your mind looking at the thoughts that are in your head, it is not the thought that's looking at the thinking. It is the observer, the neutral observer that looks at all that you have cataloged as your experiences, all of the different qualifications of that experience, all of what you added emotionally. All of those things become a cauldron of a recipe that you recall when the right time comes. You know what happens when you had that good sex. I mean, the kind that just leaves you drained. You know, you're hanging off the bed and saying, yeah, that's it, I'm done. Now you take that imprint and you carry that with you. And every now and then something would kick in and there's a picture of that. What comes with that is the emotions, and everything that you put into that stew is recalled back and your body reacts. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not having sex, but something's happening. Well, see, that's what it is. Thought is a mechanical thing, okay? It can be viewed, but if you do not know that your observer is apart from that, then you become a slave thinking and the senses that shaped your thoughts and your thinking. Okay? So when we speak about the observer, I'm going to speak to the part that quiets thinking. Because until you quiet thought, you will never enter the realm of intelligence. Thought will constantly be the bickering, chattering, clicking, clanging. If you've ever been in the forest and heard crickets, but you don't know where they are, that's how your thoughts act. The subconscious, the conscious, the unconscious, these crickets keep chirping. And some people need to feed on thoughts. If I don't have no thoughts, what am I going to do? Oh, turn on Facebook. I'm going to see if I can get some thoughts going. You are afraid, deathly afraid of the silence that comes because you fall into this void that is you. From the time you were a child, you've been taught to busy your mind with reflection and the digestion of thought. Constantly looking for something to think about. But have you ever been taught not to think? No. They give you too many problems to allow for that. They make sure you don't have that time. So, let's ask, what is truth? Can somebody tell me what truth is? Oh, my poor children. Truth is life. Truth is holy breath. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. There is no definition. Everybody got an idea what truth is. And they can describe it. Wait, they would be right.
That's true.
And she said that. So what I do is I just offer my own version. Truth is the cyclic fruit of a proven reality. In other words, it blossoms in its time and it falls back to sleep the way the trees do at winter, only to blossom again. It never deviates. So no matter what your interpretation of truth is, truth will always show itself, even against your better judgments, even against your wishes. That's because reality is its base. And when reality becomes the base of truth, that's truth. And now you can always depend on it. It becomes cyclic. You can always depend on it. So, many times people are talking about the truth. We see truth in stone. Is truth really in stone? Well, truth has two phases, and this is what Schopenhauer said. Truth has, first, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as self-evident. Okay? So you can yell, scream, tear your head out, but the truth will always put you back on point. You gotta change the battery now. Which one? I got two of them? Okay, this, sorry everyone. No, it's the other one. Alrighty then. Alright, okay, here we go. Is truth dead? Well, like Osiris, it rises constantly. Trust me. So we look at truth once more. And I say that condemnation before investigation is proof of indoctrination. Can I get an amen from the church? So you can condemn me for everything I'm going to say, but please investigate what I'm saying before you throw invectives at me like they do on YouTube constantly. And, you know, who am I? Who the hell are you? I'm just here just saying a couple of things. Somebody told me about it. They told me, please say something, and I did. So, here's something to think about. It's easier for the world to accept a simple lie than a complex truth. Belief in a lie told often enough becomes your truth. So, we are about to see how complex the lie has become and what it is that your mind has simply followed based upon that complex programming. Do you wish to believe or do you wish to know? Okay. Now this dude here, Math Powerland, don't believe that, we had the Flat Earth Society, but this is the dude that exposed NASA, the first one. They call him a clown. He's an opportunist and everything. He acts like an idiot. He's a comedian, but he used to draw and paint the Earth that you were told by NASA was a picture of the Earth from outer space. Anyway, that's down the line. So, the Jesuit conspiracy. We're going to go through this very quickly. In 1517, this is history. This is something you get to know. Okay? You have to know this so that you can understand what it is that you've been dealing with. These guys are at the back of every conspiracy that you would want to know. Every war, every assassination, all of it. These guys. In 1517, the Protestant Reformation was initiated by one Martin Luther, then continued by John Calvin, Hildrich Zwingli, and other Protestant reformers in the 16th century Europe. It is usually considered to have started with the publication of the 95 Theses by Martin Luther and lasted until the end of the First 30 Years' War in 1648. The Catholic Church responded through its fanatical supporter Ignatius Loyola, who in 1534 founded a secret militaristic order called the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuits, who later received their official charter from Pope Paul III in 1540, who then initiated their counter-reformation by staging the Concilium Tridentinum, or the Council of Trent, in 1545. The order became infamous for its surreptitious tactics. As a former soldier, Loyola incorporated the military strategies of the art of war by Sun Tzu into the game plans, maneuvers, and logistics of the Jesuits, which allowed them to successfully infiltrate governments and the high courts of royalty around the world to become their official astronomers, like in China with Jesuit Matteo Ricci and his successor Johann Adam Charles von Bell and Ferdinand Verbiest. The reformational churches of the Protestants, and most importantly, they infiltrated, guided, and financed the scientific research institutions of higher learning throughout Europe and eventually the world, and the scientific organizations that disseminated their teachings to the general public in the directions that fit their ultimate agenda. From the book, The Great Controversy by Ellen White says, Rome summoned new forces hoping to accomplish its destruction, and that being Protestantism. At this time, the order of the Jesuits was created, and the most cruel, unscrupulous, and powerful of all the champions of popery. Cut off from every earthly tie and human interest, dead to the claims of natural affection, reason, and conscience, holy silence, they knew no rule, no tie, but that of their order, and no duty but to extend its power. Jesuitism inspired its followers with a fanaticism that enabled them to endure dangers, suffering, hunger, toil, poverty, the rack, the dungeon, the stake, and, listen, to oppose the power of truth with all the weapons of deception, end quote. There was no crime too great for them to commit, no deception too base for them to practice, no disgrace too difficult for them to assume. Vowed to perpetual poverty and humility, it was their studied aim to secure wealth and power, to be devoted to the overthrow of Protestantism, the reestablishment of papal supremacy. It was a fundamental principle of the order that the end justifies the means. By this code, lying, theft, perjury, assassination were not only pardonable, but commendable when they served the interest of the church. Under various disguises, the Jesuits worked their way into offices of state, climbing up to be the counselors of kings and shaping the policies of nations. Now, from the book Isis Unveiled by Madame Helena Blavatsky, it is curious to note, she says, too, that most of the bodies, and this is for my brethren out there who are in the lodges, okay? It's curious to note, too, that most of the bodies, secret societies which work these sacred rituals, such as the ancient and accepted rites, the Rite of Avignon, the Order of the Temple, Fessler's Rite, the Grand Council of the Emperors of the East and West, Sovereign Princes of Masons, etc., are nearly all the offsprings of the sons of Ignatius Loyola, the Jesuits. The Baron Hund, Chevalier Ramsay, well, I get these European names, boy, Zinendorf, and numerous others worked under the instructions of the general of the Jesuits. Now, this is a man here. His name is Alberto Rivera. He went out and began ratting on the Jesuits. He came out with this information, and I want you to read this. You have been taught your duty as a spy to gather all statistics, facts, and information in your power from every source, to ingratiate yourself into the confidence of the family circle of Protestants and heretics of every class and character, as well as that of the merchant, the banker, the lawyer, among the schools and universities, in parliaments and legislatures, and in the judiciaries and councils of state, and to be all things to all men for the Pope's sake, whose servants we are unto death. He says, my son, go ye then into all the world and take possessions of all lands in the name of the Pope. He who will not accept him as the vicar of Christ and his vice-regent on earth, let him be accursed and exterminated. Oh, am I getting through? Are you getting my attention about who is really in the power? He goes on to say, I further promise, this is he now, the acolyte, speaking. I further promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make and wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, as I am directed to do, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, and that I will hang, waste, boil, flail, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the wall, in order to annihilate forever their execrable race. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poisoned cup, the strangulating cord, the steel and the poignard of the leaden bullet, regardless of the rank, honor, dignity, or authority of the person or persons, however or whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed to do so by any agent of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Faith of the Society of Jesus. Now, look at the small print. If you didn't think this was real, why is it now been recorded in the 67th Congress, third session of the U.S. Congressional Record, House Bill 1523? Again, do you wish to continue to wallow in the linguistic-based reality of your pre-programmed beliefs? Or do you wish to debug your pre-molded neurological pathways to know? Now, I know I'm going to be today.
Go ahead, brother, do your thing. Pull the cover off.
Please understand that this is no attack. There is no malice or forethought or nothing. I am researching. And as far as the paradigm structures are concerned, I am just going to speak what is, what I have found. If you refute it, please do so. I welcome any refutation, but be nice. All right? Because I'm trying to be nice, because you know I can go off. Did the Vatican create Islam? Ooh. Well, let's look at the evidence. Okay? There are 114 chapters in the Quran, which makes 6,666 words. Now, wait a minute. That 6 always shows up always shows up when the Jesuits and the Vatican are manipulating reality. The name of the Prophet Muhammad appears only in 4 places in Quran, but the name of Jesus appears in 25. There are no women mentioned in the Quran except Miriam or Mary, not the Prophet's mother or his children. The 3rd chapter, now I'm not sure which Quran this is, but the Quran that I was given to, there are people who are now looking at Quran who are devout Muslims. And they begin to question, what is the 3rd chapter in Quran is titled the family of Miriam. The 19th chapter of Quran is titled Miriam, Mary. There are 3 verses, 34 onward states that Miriam was born without original sin. This is in Quran. Miriam was born ever a virgin. Miriam ascended into heaven in her body. That's called the Catholic assumption. Who's the Catholics in here? Ex-Catholics. I'm a recovering Christian too. Yeah. I'm 50 years sober? I think. Thank you. In chapter 3, verses 45 to 55, Quran states 10 points regarding Jesus. That he is the Word of God. Kalima mim Allah. Goes on to say he is the Spirit of God. Ruah mim Allah. Both A and B above being the name of Jesus Christ. Thus, according to Quran, the Word of God and the Spirit of God is to be attributed to Jesus Christ. The Quran states that Jesus spoke at 2 days of age. The Quran states that he crafted a live bird out of mud and breathed life into it. The Quran states that Jesus cured a man who was blind. It states that Jesus cured a man of leprosy. It states that Jesus gave back life to a dead man. Wait a minute, this is Quran. Again, there is no disrespect here. There is only analysis. You cannot take away my critical thinking. That's all it is. And anyone who prevents you from asking questions is a cult. The Quran states that Jesus transcended into heaven while in the flesh, is still alive, and will be returning. The Quran states that Prophet Muhammad is not alive and will not be coming back. Wait, this is not funny because people are killing each other. Murder, more blood runs in this place we call our home over religious concepts. That Prophet Muhammad was not the Word of God. This is what the logic comes. Not the Spirit of God. Never spoke at 2 years of age, which, by the way, is the Gospel of Thomas, which was essentially a gospel that was extricated from the Bible. It's in the Nag Hammadi library. The Gospel of Thomas speaks of the infancy of the Jesus Christ. So, he never took a bird and took mud and breathed life into it, making a bird. Never cured the sick. He never gave sight to the blind, and he never raised the dead. That God created everything through the Word. The Word is creator and creation. Quran states that Jesus is the Word. If the Word of God is creator, then ipso facto, Jesus is creator. Now, I begin to wonder why it is that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan speaks more about Jesus Christ. He says the real Jesus Christ. Of course, we know he's melanated, but he never existed. Melanated or not. We have great teachers like Apollonius of Tyana. Islam, that, thank you, Jesus the Christ becomes the predominant, go-to example of what we want to aspire to. I'm just curious about that. Please answer me, but answer me with tact, because I could be just as vicious with my words. I am a wordsmith. Trust me. So, this is something to think about. How pervasive is the Vatican and their surreptitious deeds that actually works to play at and to separate us into these modules. Now, here's reality according to the cult of quantum mechanics, what I call how twistery became his story. Now, enter Copernicus. This is the foundation for your globe. This is where your round ball started. It actually jumped off before this, and you'll find out. Now, here's the timeline. Protestant Reformation is initiated in 1513 by John Calvin. The Roman Church was losing its tyrannical power over the minds of the European people. After being wounded in the Battle of Pamplona and failing to heal himself completely after torturous attempts, Regilio de Recalde, alias Ignatius of Loyola, upon seeing the desperate plight of the church, creates a secret military order called the Society of Jesus, aka the Jesuits, with 6 impressionable young acolytes willing to do his every bidding on September 27, 1534. Loyola had petitioned the then Pope Clement VII to let him create an order to fight the Protestants, but he was refused. 2 days after Clement left the throne, on September 25, 1534, Loyola established the Jesuit order and campaigned vigorously for a charter from Pope Paul III for 6 years, who finally relented and gave him that charter in September of 1540. Now, Copernicus was the Vatican chief mathematician. In fact, he became a priest of the Vatican. Okay, to tell you. Now, he received his doctorate in canon law. If you understand, that's the protocols of Roman rule over the conquered nations, which is what you're dealing with when you go to court. The Roman black laws. From Bologna University, and was a member of the Catholic clergy himself, borrowing from the historical works of Aristarchus or Aristarchus. He first published his theory of the heliocentric system in his book, De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, translated On the Revolutions of the Heavenly Bodies in 1543, almost directly after Martin Luther's Protestant Reformation. But Copernicus knew his theory was controversial and went against thousands of years of science from advanced civilizations that preceded Rome, and actually wanted to have his theory published after his death, but was forced to relent by his Catholic masters like Papal Secretary Albert Windmanstad, Cardinal Schoenberg, and Bishop Gies of Clum, who all insisted that he spread his theory by also lecturing abroad. Now, regarding Aristarchus as the first human or known proponent of the heliocentric model, Archimedes of Syracuse, in his work, The Sand Reckoner, recounts his speech before King Galon, stating, now this is Archimedes speaking about Aristarchus. He's bigging him up. You are now aware, okay, of the universe, or that the universe is the name given by most astronomers to the sphere, the center of which is the center of the earth, while its radius is equal to the straight line between the center of the sun and the center of the earth. This is the common account, as you have heard, by astronomers, but Aristarchus has brought out a book consisting of certain hypotheses, wherein it appears as a consequence of the assumptions made that the universe is many times that of the universe just mentioned, greater. His hypotheses are that the fixed stars and the sun remain unmoved, that the earth revolves around the sun on the circumference of a circle, the sun lying in the middle of the orbit, and that the sphere of the fixed stars, situated about the same center as the sun, is so great that the circle in which he supposes the earth revolve bears such a proportion to the distance of the fixed stars as the center of the sphere bears to its surface. Blah, blah, blah. We are dealing with changing the paradigm of thought to fit the Europeans' control program for the next 100, 200, 300 years. On May 24th, listen carefully, 1543, that very same year to the day his work was published, Copernicus was dead. Most likely poisoned, which induced a stroke in accordance with the secret oath of the Jesuits to ensure his silence after having served his purpose. He was 70. His ordered murder could have been carried out by this one, in this was his only pupil who had access to him. So, I mean, we could do the forensics on that. And if he was the only one that had the access to him, this guy's name is George Joachim de Porres, also known as Redicus, who stayed with him for 2 years in Poland. The reason I believe he was murdered is that this man, whose works essentially changed the standard orthodox scientific world paradigm of the flat-planed reality of our earth, which had existed for thousands of years, was unceremoniously buried in an unmarked grave behind Fromburg Cathedral in Poland. What? Why you bury somebody in an unmarked grave unless you don't want nobody to know anything about him? So the Jesuit, now here's how they really reinforced their globe. The Jesuit Cardinal Robert Bellarmine, canonized a saint in 1930 and named a doctor of the church, wrote that the Copernican system could not be defended without, quote, a true physical demonstration that the sun does not circle the earth, but that the earth circles the sun. Galileo pops up and says, yo, I'm here. I got this thing called the theory of tides. And this is definitive proof of the motion of the earth. Now, you've heard of Kepler. Kepler was also a Jesuit sympathizer and staunch proponent of the heliocentric model, which he exemplified in his work Astronomer Nova, considered today to be one of the most important works of the so-called scientific revolution. He was an acolyte of famed astrologer and mathematician Tycho Brahe, developer of the Tychonic system, which fused the mathematical computations of Copernicus, which is heliocentrism, with the philosophical teachings of the Ptolemaic system, which is geocentrism. But although he appeared to tacitly agree with the Jesuit Rome that the moon circled the earth and the planets circled the sun, he stubbornly stuck with his personal calculations that the sun circled the earth, which made him a Jesuit target for elimination. Remember, Brahe, at his time, here's what they actually said about this man. The first competent mind in modern astronomy to feel ardently the passion for exact empirical facts. This means that he went out to deal with first-hand investigation of what he stood by. He didn't accept anything first-hand by somebody telling him. His observations, they said, were some 5 times more accurate than the best available observations at the time, end quote. Brahe was said to have suspiciously died at a banquet attended by Kepler. And he died of a burst bladder? I mean, he was holding his pee? Yeah, okay. As soon as he died, 8 years later, in 1609, Kepler jacked Tycho's astronomical data to develop his own 3 laws of planetary motion, conveniently omitting Brahe's personal calculations of the rotation of the sun above the earth. Here are some of the things that you see in the old books. They were following essentially what your ancestors were dealing with. Now look at this map made in 1587 showing no ice covering the Antarctic. David Rumsey carefully pieced together one of the world's largest maps, a map created by Urbano Monte, amounting to over 60 pages when he put this map together. When they were placed together, the map stretched over 10 feet in diameter. Again, the map shows vast tracts of land not shown on modern-day maps. Okay, isn't that interesting? Is dealing with your flat earth. And I don't believe in flat earth. Let me just get this straight. Just because I'm saying those words, it's because it's familiar. I don't believe in no damn flat earth. Let's just get that straight. That's Christian. They believe that we are on a flat earth. I don't believe that we're on a flat. I believe that we are on an infinite plane. Because when the eternal creates, it creates infinity. That which is infinite is feminine. That which is eternal is masculine. They together work together to create the masculine and feminine, the material and the spiritual. They work back and forth with one another. In fact, they are the same. So, when I say flat earth, don't tag me with no Christian BS on. You know what I mean. Also, look at this. Now, if you look at the dendera and you see how interesting how you see the four corners and how they broke it down, same difference. If you look at the way that they broke down the four, you see how we mapped out the same four directions. That's where they take it from. It's not just the sky that they were actually dealing with in dendera. Okay? Now, Kepler, in his thesis, this is a guy who wrote about him, Kepler's relations to the Jesuits, Dr. Jorge Schopenhauer of the University of Leipzig states, it is well known that the order of Jesuits, listen carefully, was the most important and most active Catholic order in the fields of science during the 17th and 18th centuries. One field of particularly intensive successive study carried out by the Jesuits was astronomy. Many of their names are associated with the most important discoveries in the history of astronomy. Now here's this order that states that we are going to lie and do whatever we have to do to push our agenda, and they're the ones who made all the discoveries that we are learning today. It is nearly impossible, this person says, to list all the names of those Jesuits who made serious contributions as astronomers and mathematicians. Whoa. In fact, after the publishing of Copernicus's work, the records show that the Jesuits produced more astronomers than any other academic discipline or demographic in all of Europe. The Jesuits? A religious order? Fact check. A religious order that focused on producing so many temporal scientists, but more suspiciously, scientists focused predominantly in one and only one arena of scientific disciplines? That should cause any logical thinker to ponder motive. Here are some of the Jesuits that the school of modern astronomy goes back and teaches to all those who wish to become astronomers and astrophysicists and so forth. Here's another one. The list is much greater. I just put two up there for you to see. Okay? Look. The Vatican is the largest and longest owners of observatories. Starting from the 16th century to this day with the recent building of its newest observatory called Lucifer. Since then, they've owned all information about the heavens, and in conjunction with their Nazi accomplices at NASA, they've steered and controlled the narratives that we've all studied about creation, the universe, and especially God. This, family, is Lucifer. What is it called? Large Binocular Telescope, Near Infrared Utility Camera, and Integral Field Unit for what? Extragalactic? Oh, by the way, if you were waiting for Jesus to come back, the Vatican made an announcement that he ain't. Brothers and sisters, family, the Vatican, the Royal Society of London, and the Nazi-run NASA have controlled all information about the heavens and our place in the universe up to this day. The Roman Church has had possession of the majority of all the stolen knowledge of the ancients and have had their scribes tediously transcribe them by hand into books based on their twisted perceptions of reality since then. This was followed by the book publishing and mass production of their material directed by the Jesuits. In fact, most of the early book publishing companies were in and around Rome for the first 100 years that books became available to the masses. They control the information content. NASA, the scientists of quantum physics and astrophysics, the Royal Society of London, owned by the Crown of England, which in turn are controlled by the Vatican. Now, you have to understand and understand and understand what I'm saying here when I am dealing with how the books that you get in Western society, all books that your children read, must first be edited by the Vatican. I don't care what books you have in your schools, all the way up to PhD. This is their symbol. Get used to it. Now I'm going to introduce you to the holy prophets of the quantum cult. Amen. Now I'm going to talk about them then. These are the ones that Oh, yes. Amen. You're going to hear choirs blow up behind them. This guy, Celsus, is the one who actually pushed and went out on foot to promote Aristarchus' global agenda, or his global agenda. Here you have the now. Darwin, Born, Planck, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, Hubble, Friedman, and Gamow. These are the holy prophets of the quantum cult. They are who you are going to learn about when you go to college to learn quantum physics, any kind of physics. Okay? Here they are again. Now this guy is deep. Sir Fred Hoyle. He said, he's the first one to coin Big Bang on BBC Radio, first program broadcast on March 28th, 1949. In another BBC interview, he said, the reason why scientists like the Big Bang is because they are overshadowed by the book of Genesis. It is deep within the psyche of most scientists to believe in the first page of Genesis. What is an inquisition? An ecclesiastical tribunal established by Pope Gregory IX in 1232 for the suppression of heresy. It was active chiefly in northern Italy and southern France, becoming notorious for its use of torture. In 1542, the Papal Inquisition was reestablished to combat Protestantism, eventually becoming an organ of the papal government. Here is the new inquisitors of the quantum cult. Yes. All of them are on TV. Oh, they're on the Twistery channel. You see them everywhere. Let's get to know them, shall we? This is the family tree. This is where they descended from. You look at them, the holy fathers of the mother church. Okay, that's where they descend from. Now you see the white pope and the black pope. There's a gray pope, okay, but he represents the 13 families that run even the pope's line. Then from there you have who we say classical daddy and modern mommy. Okay, we're dealing with a family tree here, all right? And of course, we then go down to what I call the breech birth schizophrenic ADHD offspring. Understand that these people were programmed to make sure that the agenda stayed on track. And we're going to go over a little bit of it. Now, they call us flatards who believe in the flat plane. I have coined a name called globaholics. And globalogics and the papal enshrinement of Big Bangism, I call it the gospel according to Globe. So, globaholics are kind of inebriated with the conditioning and the programming. Okay? The reason why scientists like the Big Bang, as he said, is because deep in their psyche, they like the first page of Genesis. Well, I kind of offer this to you all. If you have to use it, you can. I say, in the planning and execution of a well-staged Hegelian drama, the actions and methodologies of opposites inevitably attract and converge to reveal their single ancestry, one bullshit lie. Thank you. Please use that freely if you want. Give it to your professors. See what they have to say. Okay, let's go to the Big Bang Theory. All right? Now, this is a book by the one I talked about, Krauss. I call it The Beginning of the Never-Ending Story, Fantasia, which is Christianity fights against the nothing. Anybody ever saw that? Of course you did. You're the generation who knows about the nothing. So they would easily get that nothing into your psyche. In the beginning, there was the ever-nothing, and the ever-nothing stayed as nothing and perpetuated nothing. Then suddenly nothing decided to erupt and explode into a big bang for no goddamn reason whatsoever, creating everything. Then everything decided to sort itself out into microscopic bits and pieces called atoms, quarks, leptons, gluons, bosons, and Marxes, etc., etc. Then these microscopic bits and pieces, for no reason, decided to coalesce and replicate into bits of protoplasm to become slugs. Then these slugs decided to grow fins to swim in the ocean. Then decided to sprout legs to walk on the land. Then decided to form themselves into dinosaurs, which decided to become birds. While at the same time, a few of these slugs decided to become apes, who then decided to become man. This is bullshit they want you to. Because they show you enough knuckle-dragging apes grunting across your TV screen, especially in 2001: A Space Odyssey. You believe that you are part of that Neanderthal strain. You are not. You are not. Though we have mixed with them, you are not. You are the original seed. So they have even a new one. So let's follow and see how religiously oriented your so-called a-religious science is. Here's the Vatican Church. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. The quantum cult says nothing. Quantum vacuum. The Vatican Church says, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. The quantum cult says, quantum singularity. Vatican Church, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. Quantum cult, Big Bang. Vatican Church, and God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness, and God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and gathered together of the waters that called seas. God saw that it was good. What did the quantum cult say? During the first 3 minutes of the universe, the light elements were born during a process known as Big Bang nucleosynthesis. As space expanded, the universe cooled and matter formed. 1 second after the Big Bang, the universe was filled with neutrons, protons, electrons, anti-electrons, protons, and neutrinos. This I got off of the science.com site. Listen carefully for all you believers. Father Andrew Pinsett says, being both a priest and a former particle scientist or physicist at CERN, and you all remember what I said about CERN, I am often asked to give talks on faith and science. Quite often, young people ask me the following question: how can you be a priest and believe in the Big Bang? To which I'm delighted to respond, we invented it! I really don't know if y'all really see what's happening here and what it is that you're revealing to yourselves, because this is no accident that you all came. You know? I think this is beautiful. You all can go out and then, prove me wrong. I want you to. Show me something that I may have missed. I really do, because I've been into researching for a very long time. It's tedious. My ass hurts from sitting down and reading books and looking for what it is that don't apply and can apply or can apply. But find out whether or not what I'm saying is not true. The trick to understand how to get and to reveal reality is to see what it is not. Not what it is, see what it is not. And whatever it is not will prove what it is. Or more precisely, priest Jorge or George Lemaitre invented a theory that is now called the Big Bang, and everybody should know him. Well, okay, if everybody should know him, I see him there with a very familiar face. He was a Catholic priest and astronomer, a professor of physics at Catholic University, educated in a Jesuit secondary school. Oh, really? Okay, here we go. He proposed on theoretical grounds that the universe is expanding. Listen, this is the operative word. But what is the first 4 letters of a theoretical? God. So they're even contradicting themselves in what they are using to identify their own church. Confirmed here by Hubble, another Jesuit. Lemaitre also proposed what became known as the Big Bang theory, the origin of the universe, which he calls his hypothesis of the primeval atom, or the cosmic egg. Enter the Vatican's first Jesuit pope. Never happened in all the years that the Vatican existed. They never had a Jesuit pope till now. This man, Pope Francis, who was the provincial superior of the Society of Jesus and a cardinal at the time, was quietly the chief orchestrator of what became known as the Dirty War in Argentina. This campaign of state terror was a CIA-backed black op codenamed Operation Condor, and saw the torture, murder, and disappearance of over 35,000 citizens, including Argentina's orphans kidnapped for sex trafficking and child sacrificing. That's him. That's your Pope. So what does he do? Because he's the Jesuit, he ratifies the so-called Big Bang Theory and says it does not conflict with religious thinking. Oh, really? Interesting. Okay, so here are the media missionaries of the quantum cult, preaching and spreading the gospel of the globe. Theoretical physicists, keyword theoretical, are nothing more than embellishers of the false narrative propagated by the Vatican parasitic elite. Catechists preaching the gospel of the quantum faith. They are the missionaries, the crusaders, sent by the Quantum Inquisitorium to intimidate opponents while popularizing the occult tenets of their quantum cult. The tenets of the quantum cult of theoretical physics amount to nothing more than an elaborately cryptic Boolean catechism exclusive to those initiated into their quantum cult, much like their godmother, the Roman Catholic Church, did when they sought to hide the ancient scientific origins and meanings of their biblical text in the enigmatic scripts of a dead Latin language. This man says something interesting. Science is a socially embedded activity. It progresses by hunch, vision, and intuition. Much of its change through time does not record a closer approach to the truth, to the absolute truth, but the alteration of cultural context that influence it so strongly. Theories, moreover, are not inexorable deductions or inductions from facts. The most creative theories are often imaginative visions imposed upon facts. And the source of imagination is also strongly cultural. He also said something very interesting. I am somehow less interested in the weight and convolutions of Einstein's brain, which was a big thing back then, than in the near certainty that people of equal talent have lived and died in cotton fields and sweatshops. Come on. Now let's talk about this lizard. When titling his book, where the double entendre of nothing hid the second meaning, Lawrence Krauss used the subtlety of equivocation, that is, ambiguous language to conceal the truth or avoid admitting that his quantum cult and its premises are a form of religion. There's his premise. Nothing, commonly meaning no thing or a complete absence of being, and his meaning of nothing in accordance with the tenets of Big Bangism, where nothing equals a quantum vacuum. Classic example of Orwellian doublespeak, i.e. equivocation. So if there is a quantum vacuum, how does it exist? Okay. So what is his job? His Jesuit mission, this man, is to promote atheism in the guise of science, where science becomes the idol to worship, subtly representing their religion's God, and the quantum physicists its priests, prophets, and missionaries. So he's now atheists who say, yeah, there was nothing, just a bunch of quarks and things moving around, no intelligence, had nothing to do. This is his mission. This man's mission is to be the buffoon. He is to get to the children's minds. Okay? Now, it's interesting because this brother here, Baron Vaughn, you may all know him. He's got something called Deep Shit. He provides the voice of Moon in the Disney XD series, Right Now, Kapow, whatever that is. I don't know. He says, I'm a big fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's the voice of science and scientific thinking in the United States and the world. He's the most visible proponent of scientific thinking, and he's very unflinching about it. He knows that it's correct and vouches for it in every intelligent and firm way, which I really appreciate. More words from people put on a pedestal to delude the rest of society. This man just needs to be talked to so he could understand just what agenda this man is publishing. Look at them. They put him in cartoons next to Superman.
Oh, don't worry about it, Superman. We're here for you.
And who is he actually? Who are you targeting? Are you targeting, people, senior citizens? Who are you targeting when you start talking about Superman and all the rest of these? So, here's the Big Bang Theory. They're pushing it everywhere. This is the age of the geek, and the Big Bang Theory's popularity is a reflection of a massive cultural shift. Cult, where we're celebrating the brawny, the intellectual, and the different, instead of making them an outcast, said Catherine Brodsky, a stringer for Variety. Big Bang Theory lets audience identify with and be part of that geek world. The jock and high school beauty queen are dead. In other words, that which is masculinity and that which is femininity is dead. There's your agenda. And there he is. He shows up everywhere where the millennials are and where young children are, or even, no, oh man, I'm the coolest. This is the sexiest astrophysics alive. Oh yeah. I'm giving you that Fonzie bullshit. There he is. He's all over the damn place. Why? He's the master of the universe. Neil deGrasse Tyson. And here he is on Cosmopolitan. What is he doing on Cosmopolitan? That's a chick magazine, about how to, give better head and crazy shit. And you can look at it because remember his tie is a phallic symbol, so he's kind of offering that to you. His legs are open. Look, check out. What's he selling to you ladies? Come on now. Hey, boo. My daughter, Shamika, is here. You all go ahead and give her some. And her mother, my former wife, Charlene. So there he is, holding his tie for everyone to see. And here, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I have a bigger one to show you. I can't hear you over the sound of how awesome science is. So he's everywhere. He's the new Captain Kangaroo. He's even the voice of an intelligent pig. He's even up for sainthood. And his agenda is being said to you. I'm sorry. His agenda is being told to you. I'm often asked by parents, what advice can I give them to help get kids interested in science? Here's what he tells you, parents. Get out of their way. What? Get out of the parents' way so he and his ilk can condition your children with what they want them to know. Michio Kaku, his agenda is to get you on Mars. His agenda is to get you to spend another $1 trillion of your tax money to go no damn where. He now takes up from von Braun, who was the Nazi scientist that dealt with. He's now to take up von Braun's, because you got to remember the Nazis and the Japanese were together. Now, he's now again the society. Everywhere you go, he's on NASA on Mars. There's Mars, or what is it? Mars. And guess what? Yes, a Martian Chronicle of teens in training for a mission to the Red Planet. NASA's teenage trainees are the subject of a Netflix original documentary. Does anybody see? None of your monkey asses is going to Mars. Yeah, not even my license, not even one of my ilk. I can't even get over. They say, women, if you put that play, you could tell that each one of them went through the brown paper bag test before they got on them uniforms. Right? Well, maybe over to the corner, you might see a Gupta. Over to the left, way over there. Yeah, they put him nearly out the picture. This clown has 18 Emmys in 5 seasons, and he's not even a scientist. He's a mechanical engineer at Boeing. But this clown, what is he going? He's going to change the world or what? This clown is everywhere. They are to purport and promote this particular Jesuit agenda. Now, check this out. Everybody know this man? Of course you know this man. You know this man. He's Stephen Hawking. He's the most intelligent man on the planet. This is what they tell me. So I said, oh, well, let me learn about this man. Okay, what I found out about this man was very interesting. He had something called ALS. On average, people live 2 to 3 years after diagnosis. But that means half the people live longer. This is a doctor telling us this crap. They say at the end of it, an outlier, which means they can't do anything with him. They send him home. All right? That's what an outlier is. That's their secret language. The doctors tell you we can't do nothing more for you. Now, in an investigating write-up, listen carefully, everyone. Watch the bait and switch. In an investigative write-up first published in April of 2015, a researcher named Miles Mathis, another person they clown and say that he ain't shit, he's this, he's a lowlife, and so forth. But he found something very interesting. I want to propose it here. He put forth the claim that the real Stephen Hawking had either died or was too incapacitated to appear publicly, but was definitely replaced by a look-alike. Mathis claimed that the reason for the switch was that Hawking was a huge commercial commodity as the poster boy for promoting the tenets of the quantum cult, and they just could not afford to lose him. So this is the real. And here's what you've been shown. Now, we're going to prove to you how this switch happened. Now, upon a preliminary review, his stated evidence could appear to stand up. Again, the real Stephen Hawking was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. You only have 4 years to live, but 60 years later, up until his publicly announced death, Hawking was alive and doing well, making public appearances on TV, doing documentaries on TV, voiceovers for cartoons, hosting his own science TV show with ALS? Well, let's just look at it. Proof number 1, discernibly different bottom row teeth. Check. Check. Or else you don't see it? All right, well, if you don't see it, let me just do that. Nope, ain't a clone. Sorry, beloved. You have to understand that they found this dude who was a look-alike, who had the same disease but younger. Okay? Let's go again. Proof number 2. The real Stephen Hawking had dark graying hair while the fake was a dirty blonde. Real Stephen Hawking's jaw was long and thin while the fake Hawking's face was fuller with a shortened jaw. Lastly, on the real Hawking, the helix or outer fold of the ear ends with a knot above the lobule. Fake Hawkins is smooth and uninterrupted all the way down to the lobule, while the antihelix of the real Hawkins extends to overlap his helix. Fake Hawkins does not. See, I went to some very painstaking investigative, which is what I expect you to do, so that you have an intelligent conversation with somebody who is ignorant enough to stand by this nonsense. You're going to have to be the missionaries of truth, if that's a word. Proof 3. In the picture on the left, real Hawkins is 41 years of age, being born on January 8th, 1942. On the right, fake Hawkins is seen in the photo taken sometime after his zero-gravity experience at NASA. Question: how is it that Hawking at 65 in 2007 looks younger than he does at 41 in 1982, particularly one suffering from a crippling degenerative disease? Proof number 4. The real Hawking's head and jaws are always narrower, the back of the head having a large protrusion, his jaw extended, his bottom teeth nearly all filed away. Fake Hawking's head was broader, more round, his jaw squat with puffy cheeks and protruding bottom teeth. Here again, people with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, their hands over time begin because there's a degeneration in the muscular control. Kidneys are going. If you look on the left, that's the real one. You see, and in progression from his wife at that time, you see the curling of his hands. Over there on the right, look at his hands. They're all straight and looking all nice and smooth and shit. Mathis also explained that the Hawking switch may have taken place sometime mid-1985 between May and July, when during the trip visit to the European Organization for Nuclear Research on the border of France and Switzerland, Hawkins pneumonia, which is what those people who have that, they are prone to pneumonia. Now, when you get prone to pneumonia at ALS, you need 24-hour help. You need nurses that's going to be there 24 hours. That's when they think, or he thinks, during his research, that this guy switched places. Which means that his book, A Brief History in Time, which was released March 1st, 1988, 3 years after the real Hawkins' physical and mental abilities had all but disappeared. So essentially that book is false. It was written by someone else. Here he is, doing his thing back in the early days as his degenerative cycles. This is when he was younger. The Pope knows that he is forwarding the agenda. And here he is in all of the different things that the fake one has been going on. You see the Stephen Hawking's Grand Design, Stephen Hawking's TV show, Brave New World, The Theory of Everything, his TV shows, and more. The Proposal. Oh, look, these are all of his appearances. Futurama, Star Trek, The Narrator, Big Bang Theory show. There he is. That ain't him, y'all. Now, this guy, Eddie Redmayne, got an Academy Award for playing the real Hawking. He looks more like the real Hawking than this clown. And there he is. They're parading him to make sure that you get the camera shot. This is he. There he is with Cumberbatch, your Doctor Strange. There he is with the Pope Dracula, what's his name at the bottom left. And there he is with the so-called Big Bang Theory. There he is with Mandela. Mandela said, I don't give a shit. You just a wrinkle up old white man to me. And there he is with the devil himself at the bottom right, the Jesuit Pope. Up there he's with the owner of the Patriots, who gave him a t-shirt that said pie on it. But let me just let you know about this young man, Romani Wilfred. Scored a higher IQ than Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, and Microsoft Bill Gates. He joined Mensis at 11. The genetics are in you. You are walking genius. The suppression is based on the food, the water, everything that you've been given to destroy what's in the female mitochondria. Female mitochondria is the library of our people. And that's why they want to turn her into a man. Femininity is the only thing that allows us access to it. And she has been perverted into the masculine framework in order to suppress that genius. Because she passes it on in a yin stage, not button heads on a football field. Thank you. Truth! Made you jump, right? Again, it's easier for the world to accept a simple lie than a complex truth. A lie told often enough. Condemnation before investigation is proof of indoctrination. Ladies and gentlemen, the plain truth of our flat reality. Listen carefully. This is what the Holy Office said, Pope Pius VII. The most excellent cardinals have agreed and decreed that there must be no denial by the present or future masters of the secret apostolic palace of permission to print and to publish works which treat of the mobility of the earth and of the immobility of the sun, according to the common opinion of modern astronomers, as long as there are no other contrary indications on the basis of the decrees of the Sacred Congregation of the Index of 1757 and of the Supreme Holy Office of 1820, and that those who would show themselves to be reluctant and would disobey should be forced under punishments at the choice of this sacred congregation with derogation and their claimed privileges where necessary. So the Pope said, if you don't believe in it, we're going to hurt you. Okay? This is a decree. It had nothing to do with a scientific discovery or a realization based on scientific fact. It's a decree. So this is what you've been seeing constantly given to you as the sheeple. It says, big think, big think, big think. And of course, your subconscious is saying, think big globe, think big globe, think big globe, children, think big globe. Love your globe. Kiss your globe. Embrace your globe. Sex your globe. The globe is everything. The globe is you. You are the globe. Globology. Love my globe. I will love my globe forever. Think globe, children. Think only the globe. But guess what Tesla said? The earth is a realm. It is not a planet. It is not an object, therefore it has no edge. Earth would more easily be defined as a system environment. Earth is also a machine. It is a Tesla coil. The sun and moon are powered wirelessly with the electromagnetic field, what he called the ether, what Einstein was refuting with his E equals mc squared and his relative theory bullshit. This man was the one that was freeing your mind. This was the best that they had to give. This field also suspends the celestial spheres. This is where he now deviated. Not everything he said was something that we could actually refine ourselves with, but understand that he's saying the stars are attached to the firmament. Let's go from there. What is a planet? A planet, or a planetae, means in Latin, in own language, a wanderer. Not someone in an orbit, but a wanderer. Okay? Now I want you to see this. This is very important, family. This is from the group Astarte Planetae, meaning wandering star. Okay, now, please, when the time comes, let me see if I could, is there a way for me to bring up the, see if you can bring up the video? And can it be heard? Is it in a speaker? Okay. Please blast this so they can hear it. Hit it one more time, I think.
Is there like a special link in there or something?
It's actually an embed. If it's not there, then
I don't see anything. I'm sorry.
go back. It just has to. It should show a. Well, let me see something. Okay, go back. Let me see. Hold on. Come off of the. Put it back up. Right. All right. So, hang on. That should show up with a an arrow to press. Nothing showing up? Ah, wow. There is a play button. No, that's the next slide. Yeah. Oh well. What I wanted to show you by it is that what you're looking at and what they've done with sound in water and the different psionics. Yeah, I know. That's what it is. That's downloaded in there. It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Light and water.
Yeah, it's dealing with cymatics and psychoacoustics. Sound frequencies in the water. It has a woman speaking about the bubble that is inside of water. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, we have a bunch of videos here. The first one is usually the first.
Let me see which one it is. Which one does this say? What's the first one say?
I'm gonna pull it up. Yeah,
Okay. Hold on. Wait. Scroll down. Yeah, scroll. Keep scrolling. I gotta remember what the page looks like.
that one. Which one?
Yeah, the bubble right here. No, that one. Yeah,
That one.
yeah. Hit that one. I wanted people to see. I want people to see this because they talk about it in the Bible. The waters above and the waters below. Everything is water. Breathing is actually qualified water. Okay? But very quietly, but I'll tell you when to cut it.
It's a process called sonoluminescence.
Listen.
The first time I saw sonoluminescence was in a darkened room. I was transfixed to look at this spherical flask of fluid. And you'd look into the center, and in the center see a glowing blue-purple light, which could be seen with the unaided eye. It looked like a star in the heavens.
Seth Putterman called it the star in a jar, a tiny spot of bright light contained in a flask of liquid. This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star. What made the phenomenon so exciting was the temperature of this star in a jar. On its surface alone, the light burns at tens of thousands of degrees. And Seth Putterman now contemplated a tantalizing possibility. Could the core of the collapsing bubble be even hotter? Hot enough for fusion.
One of the mysteries of sonoluminescence is to determine exactly how hot the interior of the bubble gets. In the sun, the interior can be millions of degrees.
Okay, we could cut that because that's all bullshit about the sun. Understand what I was saying to you. Bring me back to the, I'm going to go forward from here. Now, I want you to understand and understand what I'm talking about, because when you do get a chance, go home. There was one that showed you that the luminescence inside of a jar once transposed to the sky, and they took a telescope and went on what the planet Venus looked like, and it looked exactly like that. There is no planet Venus. There is only certain bubbles or certain types of globules within the liquid that is above what I call the compressed hydrogen dome that we are under. Now, if you've been following me a long time, I didn't want to speak about that, but you may have heard me speak about the compressed hydrogen dome. And I did this back in the early 1990s. We are under a dome. This is water. You are fish-like people. You are breathing a qualified form of water. The fish are more concentrated. Their environment is more concentrated. Yours is more refined. But this is all water. You can prove it. Take your car, hit 60 miles an hour, and stick your hand out the window. Yeah, that's the synthesis. Yeah. What I'm saying is that the faster you go, the more you feel the pressure that you're under. You're under actually 16,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. You just don't know it because you're acclimated to it. Just like a fish. You ever put a fish in water? It's gone. Try swimming like him. You can't. But try getting him on land and have him run a race with you. You're not made for that. Now here's the guy here. He's telling you that they don't know what they know. They don't know what to do. Here's what he's saying. Usually in science, we're off by a factor of 2 or a factor by 10. We call that horrible. We say something's wrong with the theory. We're off by a factor of 10. However, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to 120. So who's telling me about the Big Bang Theory when this fool is telling me that we don't know what we're talking about? So let's go then. What is the gospel according to Globe? The Earth's circumference around the equator is rounded off at 25,000 miles. Earth spins at 1,037 miles per hour. Earth's sun is 67,000 miles an hour. In 1 year, the Earth travels 584 million miles around the sun. Distance from Earth to the sun by astronomical units is said to be 92,955,807 miles. Listen carefully now. Here's where we go from the sublime to the ridiculous. The sun of our solar system, our speeding, and our solar system are speeding around the Milky Way galaxy at 448,000 miles per second. Faster than the speed of light at 186,282 miles per second. Calculated miles per hour, that's 1,012,800,000 miles per hour. And even at these ridiculous velocities, our solar system would take 230 million years to travel all the way around the Milky Way galaxy. And even more amazing, our Milky Way galaxy is moving at 70 miles per second and will collide with the Andromeda galaxy in 4 billion years. I know we will all be back to witness that. Understand that the ludicrousness of what we have been proposed, we didn't even think about it, of course. Our prophets and our saints are telling us this. We have been deferring our critical thinking so that we can get the mark and graduate, get a job, get the hell out of school. It's boring as shit. School is not interesting anymore. It's a job in itself. I remember when school used to be fun. It used to be something you want to go back and learn. Now, if we were traveling at these ridiculous speeds, this is what your face would look like. Now, I got this right off of Earth Sky in Earth. This is on your Google, right? Earth spins on its axis once every 24 hours a day. At the Earth's equator, the speed of the Earth is 1,000 miles per hour. The day-night has carried you around that grand circle under the stars every day of your life, and yet you don't feel the Earth spinning. Really? Why not? It's because you and everything else, including Earth's oceans and the atmosphere, the air is spinning with you. It's following you at 1,000 miles an hour, but you don't feel anything. You know, I got a bridge right down there to sell you. Now, I wanted to show you this wind tunnel, but of course, again, I'm sorry, darling. No. It's all right. I'm not going to go through that. I don't want to put the people through that stop again. Now, if we are spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, why is the smoke rising? If we are spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, why is it that the plume of an erupting volcano rises very smoothly, very nicely, straight up to the sky? Why is this volcano rising with his plume straight up to the sky? Why is the smoke from this fire burning? And the only reason and the only evidence that it is blowing is because the wind is blowing it. Now this is deep. Here you have serious clouds. Is that evidence of the 1,000 miles an hour? Looks like something speeding. But wait a minute, look at this. The cumulus. It's just sitting there, puffy. You know, like my boy who paints happy little clouds. My boy Bob. And you know he smokes some serious tree. White boy with an afro. Anyway, look at this over Africa. This is NASA's shot of a cloud that's sitting there on an Earth spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Now, even he had to jump ship. I have come to believe that the motion of the Earth cannot be detected by any optical experiment. Period. Okay, now we're going to get to the fun part with the pictures. This is globaholics. I say globaholics get bent when they get high enough drinking the quantum Kool-Aid spiked with 200 disproof Globacardi. Now, this is what they show you to make sure that you still believe that the Earth really looks like that. Okay? Now, they even curved the damn ocean. Have you ever seen the ocean look like that? Now, this is a dude named Felix Baumgartner. And it's so interesting because I had to catch him jumping out of there. He was doing this Red Bull jump from some ungodly height. All right, so here he is. I wanted to get you stop by stop to see what was happening. Here he is opening the hatch for the first time. The light blurs because he's shining the light outside, but then as you look, wait. Whoa. Hold on. Wait a minute. Oh. But then it curves automatically all of a sudden. So now you're looking at him. He's about to jump. And you're saying, go on there, bro. Felix, make that record. Okay, now I want you to look at something dealing with what they call satanic mathematics. This is what they tell you, that the Earth, this is the reason for the seasons. The Earth is tilted at a 34.4% angle, which, if you calculate properly on a right triangle, would leave you 66.6 degrees as the remainder. There's your numbers again. But because we got wise, they changed it to the new number, 23.5. You see what's happening, family? They're cleaning themselves up. And over here, even in India, they got them thinking about that 23.4 degrees. Now let's go back to this. Here he is. He makes his jump. But then if you look at it, you're looking at this picture being essentially nothing more than the same angle that they're trying to play you off at 90 degrees. Okay?
That's only New Mexico.
That whole planetary thing is New Mexico. Yeah, New Mexico is now the new planet's name. Okay, this is the planet New Mexico. Okay? Yeah, ain't gonna do it in 5 minutes. This is the obligatory. Now, here he is jumping. Okay, he leaps out over New Mexico. And wait a minute. They get bent. What is going on? Here you are, you're getting high enough. Now, is the Earth is it a ball or a bowl? Wait a minute. Now, wait. Now it goes back to, and then, there it goes. So he's going down, down. Oh, it's turned into a ball. And there it is, a ball again. Wait, it's a bowl. And there he is. He is up there 8 miles high. And here he is again. Oh, it flattens out. But then again, he's at what? 3.5 miles. But then up, he's closer to the ground. Now he's back in the bowl. Up, he's back on the ball. Up, he's back in the bowl. He's back. Wait. Here's what they never wanted you to see during the live broadcast. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay? No curve. And I'll show you exactly what they did. So you always have to be scrutinizing these clowns when they try to play you. Here they have, if you're looking at it, and you're seeing that a fixture that's supposed to be straight is curved. Are you looking at this?
Excuse me, Doc.
Mm-hmm. How you doing, brother? How you doing? Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Huh? Are you with me? Check. No, you all asleep. Check. All right, that's what I'm talking about. So, let's go on. Let's talk about this dude, Alan Eustace. He was a retired senior vice president of engineering and senior vice president of knowledge at Google. Guess what he did? He jumped from an even higher. He broke the record. He broke Felix Baumgartner's record. He jumped from 135,000 feet in space, wearing a specially designed spacesuit. And what did he do? Eustace, lifted by a balloon with 35,000 metric feet of helium, took 15 minutes to descend after using explosives to separate himself. Why is this a secret jump? Well, very obvious. Hello, Federal. And here we go again. And y'all like pictures. But let's go to Dubai. And my boy's jumping up in Dubai. He's having a good time. But what do you see? No damn curves. No curves. Because ain't nobody trying to trick nobody during this time. Okay? Here you go again. And this is a NASA shuttle. Here we go. These are shots that you get. These are the military. Okay? One more time. One more time. One more time. Y'all don't believe me? Just keep going. And here's a view of the plane from the plane from a plane. My own personal perspective. Yeah, I was on my way to California for a lecture, and guess what I saw? At 28,000 feet. Guess what I saw at 33,000 feet? And guess what I saw up at 39,000 feet? Am I curved? No, that's up 7 miles in the air. Serious question to globaholics. 1, are we on a ball? Or are we on a bowl? On a ball? Or on a bowl? On a ball? Or in a bowl? On a ball? In a bowl? Now, this is the fun part. On a ball? Or in a bowl? Wait. By the way, to my globaholic friends, you might want to consider editing out objects that are known to have straight lines before publishing your scientific evidence proving the curvature of the earth. Now, here we got from a site where people make video games. It said, for games with long distance views, it might look a bit weird when you fly high above the ground and the horizon is all flat. You know how your millennials talk. It's all flat. Oh, how do we get rid of that? Well, what we do is we just go ahead and do a fisheye. We do what is known as shaders. So what do? Is that what that is? Is that a shader? Look at the way they curve it. Looks like an ice cream cone. We're almost coming to the ending. This is what they show you. They tell you, I got this. Here, this picture was found on Google under the heading, Photos of Earth from Space. Our reality is a sophisticated paint job. And here's that dude I was talking to you about, Matthew Powerland. That was the first version he showed when they asked him to make a composite of the earth. He did that as a ball. Okay? These are some of the shots that they had from earth. More of it. Now, which one is the earth? They're telling you these are shots from outer space. Here are the people who are the dream weavers, the ones who paint the reality. Now, I want you to listen to what he says. My role is to make imagery from earth science data. I turn data into pictures. I look for new interesting events. Now, here's where he says, NASA Earth Observing System satellites were designed to pick up or to give a check of the Earth's health. By 2002, we finally had enough data to make a snapshot of the entire Earth. So we did. The hard part was creating a flat map of the Earth's surface with 4 months of satellite data. And then what did we do after we got it all together? We wrapped the flat map around a ball. My part was integrating the surface, clouds, and oceans to match people's expectation of how the Earth looks from space. Up here, my role, what is his role? He's over here. He's a program analyst. And up there, he says he's the lead data visualizer and information designer. What the hell is an information designer? Here are the artists. They're showing you what they do on the screen to show you how they make it. And here are the visual artists on streets. Now, you see the fisheye here to make you believe that you're looking down a hole. But that's a flat surface. Look at this. You would believe that they're jumping over clouds. Look at this one. You're sitting in an iceberg. Now, wait a minute. Here's NASA and their astronauts. We're going along quickly. I want to do this quickly because I know brothers on an agenda. But here, and the nomination for Best Actors in a Real TV Science Fiction goes to Apollo 11, Apollo 12, Apollo 14, Apollo 15, 16, and 17. And the Best Supporting Actors for The Walking Space Dead goes to the Challenger Space Crew, 1986, which supposedly blew up. But here they are, The Walking Dead. Are you ready, y'all? Are you ready to listen and learn that your reality is a sophisticated paint job? There they are. They're supposed to have died. All 7 died. No, they did not. Here's your smooth. They got movies going out about them. They're lionizing these people. But guess what? You get actor-not fame. But you must obey the actor-not code of secrecy. Throw up your actor-not gang signs, everybody. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Who can forget? That's one small step for man. Come on now. Okay, one. Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. What is that? Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Now, wait a minute. We on the moon, ain't we? Wait a minute. Hold on. Giant leap for. Wait, hold up. Oh, come on, people. The lighting fixture fell. It hits Armstrong in the bed. Come on now. Come on, guys. Step up your game. Step up your game. Cut! Look, help him back up the ladder. Come on. Get back up there now. Do this right, for God's sakes. We're burning money here. All right, let's get this together again. Come on. Get him up the ladder. Sorry, Mr. Rossi. It won't happen again. All right. Ready? Take 2. That's action. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Oh, producer. And cut! Print it. And if you don't believe that this particular picture was not what they used, here's an Associated Press picture that they sent out to make you believe that they landed on the moon. Okay? It's the same damn picture. Look at it. All right? That's him. Now, that's him again in the Associated Press. Here he is being legitimized by Pope Paul VI. And this is the man, the baddest director they had in Hollywood. He is the moon faker, the 007. This was the moon faker project. Here he is with members of NASA, because after Dr. Strangelove, he was not allowed to get a B-52 bomber. So he went around looking for different ways to get access to what a B-52 bomber did, and he had his prop men create one. NASA and them said, hey, he's the man. He's the one. He's going to do our mission flights. So he had all these people. Fred Ordway. Yes, this guy Deke Slayton. You can read this when you get the video. Arthur Clarke, who helped write 2001 Space Odyssey, because he was filming 2001 Space Odyssey while he was there at a Disney lot or someplace shooting the moon. And here we are, people, all set to shoot the moon. This is the studio where they landed. Now, this is what they told you landed on the goddamn moon after going 280,000 miles. Wait a minute now. There they are in production. And here you are with a workup of what the moon looks like. Yeah, there's the moon. There we are. Well, wait a minute. Why is there a picture of the moon? But why is there a conveyor belt? Yeah. Moon, right? Tracks for the cameras. And the earth? Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Everybody salute. Here he is, Nazi Werner von Braun, founder of Nazi, the Nazi scientist who came here in the Rat Lions, codename Operation Paperclip. Now, where does my man come from? Who's his gang? Who does he hang with? There he is, Werner von Braun, the one who was brought over here, who helped create the CIA, NASA, all of that. I'm sorry, this is a shot of the moon. They told us photos of the Earth from space. This is what they're telling us. But if you go up to NASA's site, I had to dig up this photo. It looks exactly like the one they imprinted there on that photo of him coming out of that, what do you call it? Let's talk perspective. Here you are looking at the moon. I mean, the Earth from the moon. But here is a picture of the Earth and the moon from 1,000,000 miles away. They told you right there on NBC. Yet still, the Earth looks smaller from the perspective of the moon. But when you look at the moon in relationship to the Earth, the damn thing is supposed to completely cover the screen. It doesn't, because they're lying to you. Well, here you have our, our moon landing. This is what went there. Duct tape, curtain rod, paper mache, tarp material, duct tape, board, paper plumber's pipes, foil. Yeah, they went to the moon. Let's take a look at it again. There's your curtain rods, and there's your what do you call it, duct tape or leather? Now, if I was supposed to be traveling into outer space, why the hell would I go into something that looks like the goddamn sidings are peeling? They're going to put me in that, in outer space? Hell to the no-no. Curtain rods, plumbing pipes, painted white, fastened with duct tape. Check it out here. How did they get to this particular, this is where they're sitting in there. This is 1, 2, 3, okay? This is how they look. They're telling us that that's the only way in and out of that damn capsule. This is the capsule that they said where they moved from the capsule where they went up into the air, and then they moved into what they call the Earth, the lunar lander. So they're telling you in the bottom right that somehow it kicked out while they're moving at some 10,000 miles an hour, and they just happened to dock just at the right way. So they're telling you, right, wait a minute, what's that thing up there? It says launch escape system. It's pointed like a spike. What are they trying to escape from? It's just the air. It's just the vacuum. Interesting. And here he is, Armstrong, and they're on the way to the lunar module. And there's side one, there he is. And there it is. Oh, yes, how great, what an achievement. But look up here at that little window. And this is where they say, now look at this. Look at this, a view of astronaut. This is what they say on the computer. A view of astronaut Edwin Aldrin's lunar module. Yeah? Well, look at this. What is that? What the hell is that? Now they blocked off this part. Wait a minute. Look like somebody's has some kind of warehouse boxes there. I guess that's where they put the moon rocks. But wait a minute. If there's only 2 people in that module, if there's 2 people in the module, who is that person behind him? Huh, interesting. Now they blocked off those pieces. Now wait a minute, hold up. Who is that person? There he is. Now look at that. Is that a real console or is that something they painted in? Look at that. That's something you can access as the pictures. What the hell is that? It looks like something you drew. These people were murdered. Apollo 1, because this guy Grissom had a big mouth. He was about to come out and talk about them. His son showed that it was sabotage. Okay? This guy here, right there, James Webb, the day before they had the greatest achievements going to the moon, he resigned. Tapes from Washington to storage, everything, the moon telemetry, everything having to do with all of the Apollo missions, gone. You can't find it. Missing moon telemetry tapes. I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. What? We used to, but we destroyed that technology. You're going to destroy the greatest thing? I'll tell you why. White man, you did not achieve what the black man has done. You did not build your great pyramid. That was supposed to be his great pyramid, going to the moon. But still, he loses it. Astronauts to the moon. Remember this one? Look at this. Even the minions are making fun of them. And here's the big green lie. This guy was busted. Here's Bush coming in to visit NASA, and you see him in front of a screen, and he's supposed to be on the ISS, the International Space Station. But there he is in the studio. And look at this clown. They believe that you're believing that they're somehow close to or near or the ISS. But, you remember the Joker? You thought he was hanging from a building? Nope, he wasn't. That's right, green screen they call it. That's why I call it the big green lie. And there you do, where you have your Matrix. There you have that one with the tiger. I forgot what the name that is. Yeah, you remember Pi? Right, there wasn't no tiger in there. And you remember the Avengers? Green screen. Superman? No. Green screen. Caecilius. Doctor Strange? Nope. Green screen. The Walking Dead? Nope. Green screen. What do you got there? A big stadium. Football? Nope. Green screen. Cinderella or Alice in Wonderland? Green screen. The Hobbit? No. What did you call that again? Lord of the Rings? No. This is where you're standing. And look at this ISS bullshit. She's standing there. I'm looking out at the stars, everyone. No, you're not. Very quickly. Now this guy really was thinking. This guy named Pisque. He says, and this is all for you non-believers who believe we're in a hangar. This clown wants me to believe that he took a selfie in outer space. Really? Wearing that? Yeah, right. Yeah, so astronaut McCree takes a selfie from the ISS with the equivalent of these on his hands. I can't hardly hold the damn camera properly. Here we go, right there. You can see he's not the one taking the picture because that would have obscured his face. And there she is. She gets an Academy Award. He comes in there and this is him. They're not in outer space. These people got Academy Awards for fooling people and making it look so real. Okay? These are all the awards they got for that picture. That picture grossed maybe 74 million. That's it. Okay? And The Martian. Of course, The Martian. Yeah. Now, I am Matt Dillon. I'm here to sell you the illusion of vacationing on Mars in 2033. Here I am shooting the promo for NASA. Okay? There I am. Of course, I'm going to add a little bit of red to it to make you believe that you're on the red planet. I'm going to send up satellites. I'm going to send up these things. I'm going to even show pictures of this. I'm going to show you this ball. I'm going to show you all this documentary and this information to make you think that you're going to Mars. Mars is everything now. Look at the footprints. Just like we went on the moon, we put a footprint there. That's on Mars. We got the Mars generation. Here's the final. This was by a guy named Wisdom Shared Cheyenne on YouTube. I think it's very, very appropriate. This is the Globe Earth's 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not worship any other god but NASA. Thou shalt not question the theory of gravity. Thou shalt not deny that we are spinning around the sun. Thou shalt make it your sole mission to troll flat earth channels. Honor the sanctity of curvature. Thou shalt not dabble in flat earth research. Remember the moon missions and keep them holy. Thou shalt not make any idols other than the ISS. Remember that water bends and curves because of commandment number 2. Always refer to flat earthers as flatards. And with that, I say thank you very much for your kind patience and your attention. Thank you very much.
All right, yeah, that was amazing, Dr. Valentine. That was amazing. Give him another hand, family. Give him another hand. I want to thank Brother Isaiah for opening up, Brother Panic for coming on after Isaiah.
That's me. That's probably me.
Dr. Valentine for closing out. We're pressed with time. It's a great turnout we having tonight, but we do still want to do the panel discussion, so we want to take Q&A from the people. So if you be so kind to form a line over here, if somebody has a question, one question only, and please make your question short. Yeah, and they will answer it short. Thank you.
Give thanks, brother. Give thanks, beloved.
We're gonna
Give thanks, beloved.
we're gonna get out of here in about 15 minutes, family.
Yeah,
So
thank you, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Mike?
Thanks, son. Mm-hmm. Thanks, son.
Check, check.
All right, hi. It's been a pleasure. I've followed Brother Panic and Brother Valentine for a long time, so I had a question about the afterlife, just to make sure that I'm trying to avoid reincarnating. So, yeah. So I just really wanted to know if, like, all the work that I'm doing here is what is going to make that happen, avoiding that.
I'm trying to understand the question.
Okay. I think reincarnating is a trap to come back.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, if possible, avoid any pitfalls. And when you die, you're supposed to follow like a stream.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's literal.
Well, the very notion of recognition of that fact puts you on track to not come back.
Okay.
If you are aware that this is a trap and you are caught up in the cellular incarceration of the soul, and that you didn't come back by choice, but because you have a written contract based on the karma that you've created, then of course, yes. But you can always get rid of karma too, because karma is a choice as well. Okay? So it's up to you. It's your mind over matter. Remember always that matter follows mind.
Thank you. I understand.
I just want to add one thing real quick. Also, who's setting the traps? Who's doing this? We have to see our mind as 100% divine and in control.
Okay.
So we have to start questioning, who's doing this? We're making this up. We think there's a bad guy, the devil. It's a religious basis thought. And I have to say, Brother Phil said it eloquently. It's your mind.
Okay. Yeah.
Do what you want to do.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
We gotta go to the right.
Hi, my name is Benjamin, and thank you, brothers, for this wonderful day today. I wish it could go longer.
Yes.
I have a question, and please give me some information and some books too, because I've been doing this for a long time. I meditate, I sun gaze, And this is my question to the panel. I'd like to know the soul and the spirit. I know that these two phenomena are two very distinct phenomena. And my question to you is concerning the soul specifically, because most people tend to confuse it with the spirit. And I wanted to know the soul itself, is it a distinct entity that is non-physical, and that when we're growing the soul force by doing certain things, when we die, does that soul force move forward into the spirit? Do they come together, or is the soul force strictly a physical phenomenon that is transient? And if there are any books or where I can go to get some more information to build my knowledge, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay. If I may. Please. The soul is specifically a material entity that has the ability to gain egress into the spiritual world. It comes with the physical body. It is the glue of the physical body. The spirit is the breath that gravitates the two and causes them to be together. In other words, you could stop eating for 40 days, stop drinking for 3 to 4 to maybe 7 days, but stop breathing for 5 minutes. The spirit, or espiritu, which means the breath, essentially is that yin-yang polarity, which is the ethereal polarity, or the essence of the polarity of the duality. And when you breathe that in, the spirit and the soul and the body becomes transfixed together. Once the breath leaves the body, so does the soul. You see? And the soul is actually the imprint of what it is that you will then write your contract on for the next life. Do you want to come back? Then do not create conditions that allow you to become trapped back again in the cellular matrix.
Thank you, Dr. Phil. Dr. Valentine.
Anybody going to answer?
No, that was great.
Goes over to that side.
That was great.
Hi, greetings. This was really wonderful. I was really contemplating coming, and I was completely enlightened, and I really enjoyed myself, and I was very present. I am very present in this moment. So my question is, well, let me start off. I want to be a yoga instructor, because I realized that yoga is the way to enlightenment for a lot of people. For me, myself, it's been very enlightening for me, and it stops all the chatter, all the conversation that we try to get people to have on our level. Like, we always talk and trying to get people to understand us. And I'm learning that through self-reflection is when I'm enlightened the most, and learning that everybody's my teacher. And I want to spread that to other people. I want to spread that peace and that love, a lot like how you guys are. But my question now that I was sitting in the audience was, yoga has become this mass-produced thing. And now I'm sitting here starting to question whether or not I want to be on be a part of that vehicle to bring it to the masses. So my question to you guys is, how do you feel about yoga and what it can do for our people? Because now it's being like mass produced, and now I don't like mass production. That's when it starts to be controlled.
Well, if the young brothers want to speak about that, I could answer. I don't want to monopolize the stage, but...
Well, I'm actually married to a master yogi who invented her own yoga system. Sorry, I'm married to a sister who is a master yogi, and I watched her journey from when she first started doing it, because it actually happened out of a need of necessity. She had a congenital knee affliction because she was born on a military base called Camp Lejeune. And it was found that everybody except her that was born there died based upon the radioactive stuff that they put into the water. Because all military installations, whether we understand it or not, and when I say military installations, I'm not just talking about I'm talking about schools, I'm talking about colleges, I'm talking about everything. Hospitals, all of that. All of that is under military jurisdiction. So she, in order for her to walk, basically engaged it as a means to actually heal herself. And because the knee is a manifestation of different body parts have different associations. So the knees tend to be connected to the subconscious. And so within that, watching her over the years actually build it up to the point where she developed her own system, I watched her deal with all of the stuff that you're talking about in terms of the political aspect of whether it's hot yoga, Bikram yoga, chicken nugget yoga. I'm serious. There's chicken nugget yoga. If you don't think I'm playing, like, look it up. Yeah, look it up. This is, these people take everything and make it into something else. So regardless, in watching that transition and watching her, in a sense, strive to actually stay pure in her relationship with her body and specifically the breath, as the great brother Dr. Valentine told us, that the breath or the holy breath is that which distinguishes us and is ours specifically. What they call the et tu spiritu sancti, right? So that aspect of it has nothing to do with what Bikram or heated yoga or hatha yoga or Ashtanga yoga or whatever type of yoga it is. The true yogi is one who realizes that he or she herself is the actual conduit for the breath itself. So your body is doing the yoga, but what is happening is your body is putting yourself in a position to breathe out and to expand what the breath is, because you're using muscles and certain things that nobody else uses. So to take that away from you and to make you think that it's a strictly Hindu practice or whatever, they've created a mass market to dilute the aspect of it, to make you doubt the fact that you can generate your own heat to do that. You don't need to go to nobody else to do that. Your yoga is not predicated, or what you want to do is not predicated on this reality giving you the permission to do so. You have given the reality the permission to influence you. Therefore, our biggest issue, or two of the biggest issues I find our people dealing with, is apathy, laziness, and self-doubt. So if you can understand that these things are all physical manifestations that don't exist anywhere else but here, you can rise above whatever preconceived notion it is. If you want to be a yogi, be the yogi. And don't predicate it on what anybody else's yoga is. Learn the system, and then put yourself in a position to be the master in it that you already are. Before you thought about doing yoga, before you did the yoga, you thought about doing the yoga, right? So that means you did the yoga already. Now what happens is you have to catch your physical body up to the point in which that is happening, because it's already done. Islam?
All right, so good evening. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate y'all coming out. Amazing. So I've had this question on my mind for a number of years already. If we're dealing with our physical reality being, correct me if I'm wrong, projections or manifestations of the darker side or the subconscious mind, and all of these realities are existing at once, how can that be true for a child who may be going through abuse, or children who are victims of wars across the planet? I'm just having difficulty connecting the dot between, a child is not, it can't be on a child's subconscious mind that they want to exist in a miserable reality.
Child was also a grown-up before. We need to stop thinking we own children. They came here to have that experience. Me and my sister who's here had a rough one, but it's our choice. It figures out the equation that has me sitting here today. So it's choices. This world is not real. You just heard a whole lecture about this as a simulation, the illusion, the matrix. The experience is what gets us to this destination where we're trying to go. And your human mind may not even understand why you chose it. But ultimately, these children are making choices. We don't own them, we don't control them. So that war-torn kid, that abused kid, I know from our moral and our heart and all these things, it's like, wow, how could we be in a world like this? And this is just so vicious. But ultimately, it's a choice they made. We need to start seeing ourselves in control.
Before they came here.
Before they got here. They said they picked their parents. You think you just somebody can? I thought you were God. So your parents just said you like, fuck it, here I am again.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm born to her womb. You chose that womb, and you chose the dysfunction too. We need to understand we're in control at all times. We have to change our perspective to the perspective of now. Remember the oracle in the Matrix. You already made the choice. Right. You are now trying to figure out why you doing it. So same thing. I know it looks rough, but we're thinking of rough. What if that's my kids? Trayvon could have been my son.
Right.
That was all mind control. To put fear. Nobody cared about Trayvon. You all thought it might have been your son. It could have happened to me. And that's what. Then when Obama said it, it could have been me.
Right.
That was the ritual to subconsciously put you in the visualization of your kids. And since you hold ownership over them, you're the custodian of them. And if they chose you, of course, you teach them your system of your ideas of this and that. But ultimately, it's their path. Because if you could do something to get my son out the fucking basement, you know what I'm saying? If you got that much control, shit, you need to move in and just be his life coach.
Got you. Thank you.
All right, brother.
Very quickly, very good, very good. Remember, there are also actually genetic consciousness streams. And there are genetic consciousness streams within the envelope of this consciousness reality. There are consciousness streams that we follow based upon our intentions. All things are based on divine intention. So what are your intentions for the next life? You are in school right now.
Right.
So are you going to be gone or graduate, or are you going to be a super senior?
Right.
It's up to you.
Right.
Yes, brother.
Islam, peace to all three on the panel, and peace to all who came to attend. Forgive me if I'm nervous, but I'm glad to be in your presence. I'm a secured party creditor, declaring my appellation name with the UCC and a non-UC filing, living, collapsing, and controlling the trust. Our brothers are in these Albion dark magic courts, and your last question kind of segues into what I'm doing now, which trying to crush the courts and the dark magic with the Magi's in all these administrative venues. Has any one of you have made an effort to integrate the metaphysics of Phil Valentine with what you're doing at Asar in crushing him with paperwork, as also coaching and navigating through these systems and controlling our vessel, because we're forced and compelled through the birth certificate theft of the Sesame Trust and the Mortmain Act, as well as the various collapsing of the federal debt and HR 192. I can go on and on. But is there any type of manifestation or integration of the metaphysics so we can have Noble Drew Ali, his declaration of the 10-10-59 in Cook County, and integrate it in the paperwork so we can get all our brothers and sisters out of these crooked, false, magic
Not everybody.
administrations, though?
Not everyone, brother. If I may, really quickly. Overstand and understand that the UCC was actually put in because that was an alternative to natural law. It was placed there in order to do business. We became commodities. Human beings became commodities. So we had to act as functionaries within that system. Trump just signed a bill that's going to bring us back onto the gold standard.
Right.
Y'all hate him, but that fool is doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Right.
Nobody can deal with a $163 trillion debt anymore. So the bankers had to make a deal. They went with the cryptocurrencies, and we're going back on the gold standard because of BRICS. So what I'll say to you is the UCC 1 and the UCC non-UCC are going to be obsolete soon. And you're going to go back to natural law. That means the autochthonous indigenous now will rule the land.
That's right.
But it's a matter of us now becoming. We have to grow our maturity. We have been stultified. We went through a series of 400 years of arrested development. And during that time, our true status and identity as the indigenous blood people of this land here were taken from us and assigned to this denizen. So, as my distinguished panel guests know, you essentially are going to have to stand on your square and pronounce that, getting rid of all of your entitlements. But even though you use them, Maintain your status as a diplomat only walking upon the land. Never do business on the ocean with them. Never. Always come back on the land and make sure that before you even think about going to court, you file that paperwork stating that I don't do business in that court. And if you're forced in that court, force them to remove that banner, that flag that gives them the authority. It is us to learn, but we don't have the schools. We don't control our children's minds. These are the schools that they need to be attending. They need to be. We are actually establishing a foundation for you to take your children out of school and teach them how to become H-U-E, men, beings.
I would just add on to that, to say that paperwork, okay, paper come from trees. So in the end, we're really talking about an integration of something natural turned into a flat surface, right? In which now people are trying to diametrically put themselves onto it. But that's what they did to you. Quick story. I was getting beat up in court. I maybe told it before, long time ago, taken to court for things or whatever. And I was in the process of that for maybe 5 years. By the first 2 years, I was getting beat up. By the third year, I realized that this whole thing is not even real. Like, as real as it was, what made it real was my intention in it. And my intention in it was to stop them from attacking me and taking what I felt was mine. But once I realized that they could not take anything from me that I did not give them, then it became a different flow. And so I started to understand that the paperwork is really just a vehicle that really had nothing to even do with what's on the paper. I started to do get like the Seal of Solomon, because I realized that a lot of people that's processing this paperwork is Ashkenazim Jews. So if that's the case, then they're part of the B'nai B'rith, and then from there they're part of the other so-called orders that they deal with. And when I realized that, I said, well, there's binding sigils that our ancestors created that I could use as watermarks on my paperwork. I'm going to start using that. Then I started saying, well, you know what? If that's the case in that work, then why don't I start doing other things and really going in there in my proper self? So I started at the time, if y'all remember, I used to wear a lot of feathers in my hair when I was growing it out. So one day I went with all black raven feathers, right? And I had on a whole, like, you know when the mobsters wear the black trench coat over they right? So I went in there with that, with the medals and all of that. I went in there, put a little obelisk on the desk, gave him my paperwork, and every time the judge spoke, I spinned it. What started to happen was he started stuttering, he started drooling, the computer started to malfunction, right? And then the next time I went to court, the court was packed just like this, but it was just for me. So then I started to realize, oh, they're sending the boys in. So let's really take it up, because now I want to see what I can do. Because now I realize that the magic is really me, that these people is trying to take something from me that they could never control. So it got to the point, to make a long story shorter, it got to the point that I created what was called a letter of rogatory, based on a right of avizandum. This is where moral science comes in, because true moral science is the study of self. And what Noble Joe Ali basically brought, he was the first one talking us that we was already here. And in the process of realizing that, I started to actualize the actual paperwork and started to reduce all the statutory language and just started to speak in what they call the King's English, which is the language that our ancestors spoke here. So when they would ask me questions, so one time the judge asked me a question and I just responded to him in Latin. I said, Qui cumalio contrahit vel es vel ebe debit non ignoros contradictos ellos, which means he who enters into a contract either has to be aware or ought not be aware of the origin of the contract. Once I did that, brothers and sisters, and gave them the paperwork and hit it with that letter rogatory that basically let them know, I know the jig is up, I'm the judge, I'm the magi, and I expect you to release this bond to me by the next joint, or I'm going to put a whole lien on the building. When I went to the court the next time, they chained the door. They called my name, went to the door was changed. I had to sneak into the court behind. Then when I got into the court, the judge wasn't even on the bench. He didn't even show up.
They sent a little old white lady, little clerk lady out in the back and asked what I wanted to do. I said, well, this is dismissed. Pointed down on the ring. I said, it's dismissed. And because he didn't show up and do what he's supposed to do, I'm going to follow through with the action. Follow through with the action. 3 months after that, went back down to the court. The court building closed. Right here, 284 Adams Street. Look it up. I went in there. The court building closed. They said they had to close it for rats. And then they moved it across the street to the new fabricated building they built up in the process of all of this happening. So I still hold the lien on that. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm trying to say I did this with no UCC, with no statutory language, with no preconceived notion other than what I manifested out of myself to do so. And from that point, that's when I realized the way out is the way in. You remember what Ali said, I'm going to leave this European around long enough to show you how to run a government. And so that's what we did. And we have been working to establish that since for a while, and it's been working. And the more we're doing ourselves, the more it's the total opposite. So I appreciate what you're saying, brother, but like our illustrious doctor told us, eventually none of that stuff going to matter. How are you able to articulate all of what you said without saying it like that? That's the question. There you go.
Hi, I have a question for all three. I know that all of us came here because we chose to come and have this experience. Are there any new souls that have been here? This is their first experience here, and if so, how do we recognize them?
They're called Christians.
He's pretty much on point. People who need to be led. People who need leaders and not the ones who seek to hire teachers. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about those who fraternize in groups and in communities that need to have leadership, need to be told what to do. But you also see them running the streets too.
Right.
The ones that you see there with the pants drooping down and don't care, the choice of those places, they're young souls. They're here to beat their way through karma at this particular time, to die and come back consistently until they get it. But the thing is that there are young people today who, because of the videos that are being out there, they're coming back in that environment, but with a whole other outlook than the environment. And that's the ones we're going to look for, because those are the ones that the society are attacking. In fact, the feminization of our society is the destruction of the masculine principle because of the nature of the woman being a consolidator in community and dealing with the unconditionalness and so forth of love. The conditionality necessary to create ethics, to make sure there are laws and boundaries is gone. And I say this with all love. The worst of what men do as the masculine principle creates societies. We burn, destroy. We are the warriors, the rapers and the crazy people that spill blood. And then after that, we raise up. We get the intellectuals, they build up the society, but then the very worst of the feminine principle begins to bring that society down. Now, if you don't believe me, look at your television and look at what men are doing. Look at what the boys are being told to do. Look at how the feminization of men have essentially showed a society going wild. I can't look at any television anymore, and when I turn it on, all I hear is women telling me what I need to do. I'm pretty sick of it because there are no masculine actual leaders out there except on the football or on the basketball squad. We can definitely say that there are leaders out there controlling the ball, but who's controlling the balls off this court? Right. So understand, I'm not saying this with anything, I don't hate women. I'm saying that this is an energy, that the very worst of men create societies, clear the path, plow the field. It's built up, has its heights, but then the very worst of the feminine principle brings it down. And you can look at it. It's a cycle. If America kept up on this particular path, we're going to be conquered. and you're going to see a mass destruction like you would never believe. And then somebody with more yang mentalities is going to take over and make sure that none of this crazy stuff you see out there with the boys putting on the makeup and doing all this RuPaul bullshit, all of that, yeah. Oh, you can't persecute them. They're human beings. No. 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 They're avatars of destruction. And you have to understand that that's a soul that comes in. Every time a society creates its zenith, whatever nature sees that does not belong in the balanced stream of Ma'at, it will begin to create its own destruction. So anytime two entities can't come together to create another entity, anytime the predominant feeling is to accommodate homosexuality or the thinking of homosexuality in your children, that's when nature says it's time for cleaning house. And you're going to see it coming very soon. I'm sorry to say that. I didn't mean to monopolize.
Unfortunately, we have to get out of here by 9:30. So I'm gonna let you ask a question, and then this brother right here ask a question.
That's dope. That's real dope. Because I'm at the end. Oh, I'm sorry. It's an honor to meet everybody here. Peace, love, and good health to everybody in this room. So right now I'm at the end of my Dirty 30 journey. I came here today because I'm from Milwaukee, and hey, but it's like, hey, everybody know you got to get the bag to get what you want. And I got lost in that, like spiritually, I disconnected, physically, I got lost in that, and I became a shark, you know. It's anything to get to the bag, and I don't ever want to be there no more. So I lost the connection with my divinity of being a woman, my essence. I became like just straight in the game, and I came here this whole journey. I went to Vegas, I went to St. Louis, and now I'm here in front of y'all. It's an honor because I don't have any stand-up men in my life. I look on YouTube, you, I look at all of y'all. Supernova Sloan, if you still in here, I look at all of y'all. And I appreciate what y'all do.
Thank you.
So I want y'all to tell me or let me know how not to get lost in the sauce. I don't ever want to be at that place. I want to be strong in my will, my manab. I want to be just it for my boys too, because we in Milwaukee, we statistically is worse than Chicago.
Yeah.
So we right in the jungle, and I want to be a good role model for them. Yeah. And I didn't show them the right. Like this whole, it's only been like, I say 6 months since I've really been disconnected. But 6 months is a lot.
Yes, it is.
Stop putting yourself distanced from your goal. You say something, your language distances you from your objective. I want to be.
Right.
Anytime you say I want to do something, it means you feel that there's a deficit in you. Indeed. So, either I am that, and then I affirm that by the actions that match that affirmation, or else I'll be there consistently placing distance between me and my objective. If I keep saying, I want to do this, I want to be there, all you're doing is projecting yourself into a future that does not exist, but between you here and you there is distance. And when you put yourself between here and there, distance creates time. So you find out, well, why is there? Why am I doing this consistently? It seems that every time I do this, it's taking so much time. It's because the conversation that you're having in your head is not of now. It's of something that you're hoping will happen in the future.
I like how you did that.
That's a great answer.
I'm going to walk on water next.
Okay, my question is about magic, neurologistic programming, and the use of that as far as shifting consciousness, shifting frames of consciousness and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yes.
You must have took my class.
I read a book, what you call it? Psycho. Not. I read Psychomancy, but no, it's called cycle. Okay. It's about shifting frames and using language.
It's just a technique of speech.
Okay.
It's a way of, they call it pace and lead.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pace and lead program. It's a way to say shit without saying shit. So like Al Sharpton did it. You know you are special. You know we are here. You know we are strong. That's the pace. And you say that the pace, we must do something about this.
Right.
Oh, we have a lot of work ahead of us. We know it. We are here. We are doing this work. The work has got to get done. So you keep doing this pace, lead, and because we're here for Trayvon Martin, better Subways, better hoagies, ham sandwiches.
Okay.
What we're here for, it sounds like I'm talking about it. You're going to automatically connect to it, but I never said nothing, never offended nobody, never took it anywhere. I think it's deeper, but that's the gist of it, a pace lead program.
Now,
Also, to add on to what you're saying, when you talk about neurolinguistic programming and you're talking about linguistics as an actual function, we have to understand that language is a byproduct of physical reality, physical speaking language. This is something that we've only been doing for a certain amount of time. At one point, we could just look at each other and you know exactly what it is. We do that right now.
okay.
You can look at somebody sometimes and not know what they're thinking, but know what their intent is. You can follow the aspect of yourself and know that you've been in situations where you're in a situation and something tell you to leave. That's you neuralistically programming yourself through your inner voice, because your inner voice is the true you. That's the you that exists between the physical, the non-physical, or I would say between the body, the breath, and the soul. So nowadays you have an instance where people are actually giving options because they're understanding that the soul is somewhat remnant to physical realities. So in that, when you hear people talking about selling their souls and all of that, what you have now is people actively offering options on souls, meaning that, like Rick Ross, he'll say, okay, well, I'm going to give Puppy 50%, I'm going to give this one 50%, and I'm going to retain 10% for myself. This is you now compartmentalizing the aspect of that, but all of this, again, is based on language, because nobody would give a damn about Rick Ross if he didn't rap. So really, it's based upon how you convey yourself and how you express yourself, and how that expression balances between the soul, the body, and the spirit. But it's a juggling match to be able to maintain all on a equal, what you call equilibrium. And then when one becomes more important than the other, you become less adaptable in the other two. So when you talk about neuro-linguistic programming, you're also talking about post-hypnotic suggestion.
Right.
Whereas I could say banana, and now everybody thought of a banana. But prior to me saying banana, you see what I'm saying? It was me thinking that. But now we all thinking that. So within that, that applies to everything that happens to us constantly. We're constantly being put in positions to have to deal with other people's perception of the language because we don't understand what we're saying.
So is that what we call casting spells, right?
Yes.
Just casting a spell because. Etymology? Okay.
Isn't that what we were speaking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
talked about the fact that everything you're dealing with is not pre-linguistic. You are not dealing from a pre-linguistic reality. Everything is caught up. You are, as I said, in a etymological and epistemological incarceration. Everything in your mind is based upon the words used to describe your phenomenon, which means you do not have an actual, real experience. Until such time as you understand what a real experience is from a second-hand experience, then you'll understand what neuro-linguistic programming does. It makes you believe that your second-hand experience is a real experience.
And on that note, give everybody a hand one more time, family. Yeah, go right.